All right, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Atchison County Commission meeting for Tuesday, September 17th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And no one for invocation. I feel like today's a good day for an invocation, so I'm going to use Sister Connie's, the prayer for elected leadership. Please stand and join me. Oh God, give us strong, wise, compassionate leaders. Send us leaders with truthful hearts and impassioned spirits who will stand for justice and freedom for all. Give us leaders who will unite with other leaders to bring about a kinder, more peaceful world. Leaders who will support their coworkers during times of challenge and change. Give us leaders who are servants of the people, listening, encouraging, caring for all races, creeds, and cultures, welcoming those seeking asylum, providing a safe place for all to thrive. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up is public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to give public comment? We have the sidebar to make sure. Sorry, I'm trying to see if anybody's on there too. Guess we'll pop on and get it.
I think if you do the maximize button on the participants. Mm-hmm. No. Okay.
So if someone were, they would pop on if they start talking, right?
They would unmute it.
Okay, so if anyone wants to give public comment, you can unmute and pop on. Anybody in the room, public comment? Seeing none? Okay. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We reviewed the minutes and Commissioner Knoll has a couple corrections he'd like to be notated before we vote.
Yes, right before new business, I wanted to add the word, Commissioner Knoll wanted to defend against Chairman Quinn's comment about excess cash. And then at the end of that paragraph, and then add the language, and he referred to a report from the financial director as to why the county would be ineligible for a USDA loan because of high cash carryover.
Was there something in the back here?
Oh, and then Pat Henderson's name was misspelled on the county councilor pick.
Okay. So I look for a motion to approve the minutes as altered as Commissioner Knoll discussed.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. And those were minutes from September 10th, 2024. Sorry about that. I should have said that. Okay, Commissioner comments? Commissioner Rivas?
I don't think I have anything.
Commissioner Knoll?
Nope.
I don't have any comments today other than I apologize for being late for workshop this morning.
Things happen.
Gotta do better at my time management when helping with potluck. So, all right, new business. I do have an addition to the agenda. I'd like to look for a motion to approve the opening of our east doors.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
That's for public access and everything. I think they've been closed for several years due to several reasons, for everything from COVID to security reasons. And now that we've got different security measures in place, we feel that it would be advantage to the public to be able to enter the east doors on regular business hours.
Okay, perfect. All right, next up is 10:05 Walnut Township Board tubes and bridges under county maintenance in Walnut Township.
Okay, guys.
Gary, you're the trustee. If you want to come up here so that.
Yeah.
Yep, no, absolutely. So one thing we've learned from our budget hearing is whoever's speaking, if they could sit here at this, then it's easier to pick up on
You
that.
can bring a chair on them. You good?
We've got some issues I wanted to talk to the commissioners about, regarding some roads and bridges and things. here. The first one is down in Oak Mills. We have 219 road. I mean, it comes off of River Road and it goes approximately a half a mile west and it dead ends at John Brack's property. He's here today. We had, and about a block in, there's a bridge there that's posted 3 tons. And we have about, like I say, a quarter or a little over a mile on that side of the road that we're to maintain. But my question, I guess my first question to Pat is, if it's posted 3 ton and we're on it and we fall through, who's responsible for? Because all of our equipment is in excess of 3 ton. So.
That's
Or
consistent problem that comes up. There's not a blanket.
are we
authorization.
exempt in any way, or are we responsible?
I think it's on. Yes, you'd be responsible. I
Okay.
think it's unlikely that anybody would be criminally prosecuted. I think it's somewhat unlikely that.
Well, if we fell through and totaled our truck, then,
I think it's unlikely you'd have a claim against the county too.
okay, so we're at risk by crossing the.
Yeah, and we are too. We have that situation
Yeah.
in a lot of places.
Well, I guess my question then is, how are we supposed to maintain the other side of the road? Part of this was initiated because John called about getting his road blocked, his driveway. Well, being a contract hauler, I'm not crossing that bridge. I don't think they're going to get anybody to service him. But then I got to thinking, well, we're supposed to cross the bridge with our grader, our dump truck, all of our equipment, and it's like, well, who's on the hook if we fall through? What is the risk? If we're not, we don't have a risk, or
Is
we
this
do have a
structure on the
risk.
county's-
What's that?
Is this structure we're talking about, is it on the county's list? Is it our culvert?
I have no
Is it a
idea.
bridge?
Yeah,
Culvert?
it's
bridge.
a wooden bridge.
It's considered a culvert. Anything under 20 feet's a culvert. And I've already talked to the landowners. I've been talking to getting the tube size. And as soon as I get done with the Corps of Engineers, we are planning to remove that structure and put 2 culverts in there
Any time frame on that?
as soon as possible.
I'd agree, because I've looked at it and
All-
my pickup loaded with fuel and tools is over the weight rating.
But that
What's
is,
that on the bridge?
it's, I've got to talk to the Corps and make sure I'm okay with my permit. And as soon as we can, we're gonna replace that. We've
So
already
you-
talked to the landowner that has property on both sides.
He's a landowner at the end of the road. Did you talk to him?
No, we will put in a tube to get access while we're putting the tubes in.
So you're gonna have access to get in and out
Yeah.
while you're working on it?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay, so that may be done this year.
I hope so.
You said 219, correct?
219.
It's 16 feet wide, 20 feet long, and it's 3 foot deep.
So what's the recommendations? Not cross it until,
Well, we have this all over the county, unfortunately, Gary.
well, I know.
This is happening everywhere, and I don't have a perfect answer for it. other
I
than-
just wonder how this fell into such a worthless bridge in this day and age. I'm surprised at some of the bridges and crossings that we do have in Walnut Township that
But they're
are
everywhere.
ancient.
It's not just in Walnut.
Yeah, well, I didn't know they existed in Walnut till I started driving around and doing some looking, but even the guys went across there earlier this year and put out a fire. They was questionable about driving yes, because it weighs 28,000 pounds, so. They pay for fire protection, they pay for, there's what, probably, John, maybe six landowners that use that road, use that bridge to access their properties.
The road dead ends, doesn't it? Is
It dead ends, so
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
other way to it.
Yeah.
So, we're wanting to try to do something with it before winter, but we're kind of at odds till we got some answers on what. If we fall through it and wreck our truck, where are we at? If somebody gets hurt,
you have any idea on, core permitting, how long it takes?
I don't think this one should take very long, but that doesn't mean that
Right,
it won't, but it'll be sent in. Like I said, we've already been working on these. There's a couple of them we've been working on. And I've got the information ready. I gotta write a 2-paragraph page and send it in and see what they come. So.
So we just gotta wait to see what happens, I
This
guess.
is one of them
Yeah,
that
we have to
has
wait.
been on.
Just, I'm afraid to cross it with anything very heavy. After looking at it, I agree, 3 tons is probably the load limit. So the structure is not very good, so. Okay, we'll monitor that. When we have an entrance that comes off of Sherman Road and 258th, which goes up to the Sumner Cemetery, and the tube, there was a tube under there when I was a kid, but it hasn't been functioning for probably 15-20 years. The county attempted to drain the water uphill going north, which has failed. In lieu of putting in a tube, that highway was designed by engineers to drain from north to south in that particular intersection. So, we need to put a tube back in there and clean the ditch out going south, because what's happening is the water is coming down from almost the cemetery. And then a little bit's coming from the north. And it pools in front of where the tube entrance, the inlet should have been. But then it goes out on the highway and it runs down the highway, and there's times it gets that deep. And it won't go into the ditch because of the grass build up and everything on the side, and it's actually eroding the asphalt. But at times, person could hydroplane. If you're going at a very high rate of speed and there's a jog in that highway, there could be a head-on collision right there because of this drainage going down the highway. I believe that the tube needs to be fixed, and about a block of the ditch needs to be cleaned out to the south would remedy the problem, but it continues to erode even the gravel going in there, creating a big hump and everything else. Traffic hazard is what it's creating. And that's my concern on that one. I know it's been attempted to drain the water the other way, but there's not enough fall to do that. And I believe the engineers designed it the way it should be when the highway was built. And so that's something I believe that needs to be addressed also. Because it's a traffic
Is
hazard.
that one on our radar
Mhm.
for 2024?
We have to go off of the priority, which ones meet the highest priority, but it is on the radar.
And do we have
Is this on Sherman Road?
this is off of Sherman on right where it turns to 258.
So is the over on Sherman or on 250
It's in our right away.
It's in the county's right of way.
at that intersection? I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. There used to be markers, where the right of ways used to be, but it's on the original state.
it's on the east.
Yes, on the
East
east side. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, that picture.
Well, it's not going to get any better. And in fact, it's creating a hazard. Most of the time you get real heavy rain, it trails down the road considerably. It gets pretty deep at times because the road and everything drains to that, creating I believe it's creating a traffic hazard. Somebody's gonna get hurt there eventually. And I wanted to revisit the Trago Road if possible. We have a couple of people that has been created a hardship by the closure of that south part of that road. We have one guy here today, Richard Lee. He owns property on the north half of that section. But he was using that road to access his south portion of the road as well as Kortstein's. So both of them now they have no legal right to cross that property, being that's been closed and turned into a private drive. So there has been a hardship created by closing that road for those two particular farmers. And I have found a few documents that kind of explain maybe why there's no record of that road. This is what I was, did a little bit of research, found, this came out of a handbook that, was a road superintendent in a county, joining us. And it is a section that says common problems with road records. And then it goes on to say that, we're on the section line road, type of, road layout, I guess back in the 1880s or whenever this was established. The legislature declared that all section line roads would be major collector roads. And not necessarily any of the right of ways was recorded. And most of them, it looks to me like, from my understanding, should have had a 40-foot right of way. And it addresses, I think, in two separate, with the section line roads, which that road is a section line. And then at the other one, I marked no road opening records found, but road had been maintained by the county. But the township has continuously maintained that road since I was a kid, and it was even in the minimum maintenance program at one point in time. So somebody considered it a road to be adopted into that program.
It was the townships that told us what road
Right.
they wanted for that.
Right.
That
So,
wasn't, I mean, because it was in the minimum maintenance, didn't
right.
have any
Well,
bearing. I mean, it wasn't a county determination. Of
right.
Anything on.
Well, the township, I guess, determined at that time that they thought it was a road or whatever, but my argument is this falls on a section line. There in the back, I had O'Keefe and them do some research on it, and they researched the section north of there and the section south of there. And it's consistent with this section. There is no road right of ways recorded on any of it, north or south, or the one in question. So it leads me to believe that this fell under the section line road. There is accounts that people traveled this road, and Clint Korpstein, when I talked to him on the phone, he said you can still walk the the roadway going north, but it's impassable. It's only by foot now. But he said you can still see the roadbed was there, which would have connected with the south portion that was closed. But my argument is, I guess, simply that that these two landowners have, it's created a hardship for them to get in and haul hay in and run cattle and stuff, because sometimes the cattle get out. Now they can't get across there and they've been using this right of way or road for many years. And I feel also that maybe the township has been damaged in a way, because by closing these roads, it stops further development of surrounding property. Because most people can't afford to build a highway to get back in there to develop a property unless they're a developer. An ordinary person cannot bear the costs of opening these roads and to the standards today. And I think by closing these roads, we're doing a hindrance to our ability to develop our township and increase our tax base.
So you're saying the township will open those roads? I mean, are you saying the county would need to?
Well, if it falls back under a new road, I know you guys passed some new road regulations, and they're pretty cumbersome and they're very costly for somebody to go in and have to reopen a road, you know, to build a house. Where if these roads are still in existence, they can be upgraded or what have you. I guess the question on this road, there was no right of way. Well, I feel there is a right of way because it lies on the section line.
Wide enough.
Well, according to this, it should be a 40-foot. When they regraded it, and then it came in that it was going to be, I guess, considered a new road because there was no. It was gonna have to be expanded further yet. But I feel that this lies on a section line and it falls under this jurisdiction and we're fine with maintaining the road. We want to maintain all the roads that we can, even the dirt roads at this point in time, because people may move out there and build houses and be able to upgrade the roads. But when you close the roads, there's no access beyond the roads that are still in existence. You know, if a guy wants to go back a mile and build a house.
Maybe it's semantics, but I don't think we closed the road. It was just said that we had no evidence that had never been open.
Right.
So, I mean,
And
we
that-
didn't take action to actually have a road that was knowingly open and take action to make.
So
it
it's not officially closed.
It wasn't officially opened.
Right, but you don't think under these circumstances,
Statute later, after the statute that set, that declared section lines to be roads, there was one that vacated all of those if they had not been opened. And that's a situation I think we have here. If there is other evidence that these were open, we sure consider it. If the adjoining landowners will, want to, put forth their, if they want to grant an easement for the road, and file a petition to open the road, the Board of County Commissioners would have the authority to do that. I think probably a willingness to do that. I can't speak for them,
but the problem is the costs in expanding the roads to 60 foot, which is now the requirements. Unless it's accepted that this was a road at one time, which would only require 40, which is there.
so is that the reason why the landowner didn't sign the easement because of that extra 10 feet?
Because it had dealings with several different landowners on each side, and I don't believe the one was cooperating to do so.
But as I
And
recall-
actually, I believe that there was an account that he traveled this road when he was a young man. And I've had a few other accounts that their relatives, their elders have traveled that road coming out of Fort Williams regularly to go to Leavenworth. That was the main road.
So I had never heard that the impediment to signing that easement was the difference between a 40-foot easement and 60-foot easement. But if you're telling me that's the case, I mean.
Well, I think that's the case, and I think you checked into it some, didn't you, on the,
Well, the 60-foot was based on our new road standard.
right,
And
but
if
there
you're
was
saying- I
the
mean,
there was no cooperation from the west side at some point.
yeah, I wouldn't say no cooperation. He's just a 90-some-year-old man and he lives in Texas
Right.
and.
Well, he don't
it's-
understand because he
it's one of
said
those
he
things.
traveled the road when he was a
Yes,
kid
he did say that.
and so he believes the road was in existence. I don't know. I'm not old enough to know, but there is some accounts of other people traveling it at some time.
I'd be a little hesitant of somebody who says this was a public road who wouldn't sign an easement for it. That seems inconsistent. And if I hadn't heard that the difference was the width of the easement.
Well, what I guess my position is that if it is a 40-foot easement, then no further adjustments need to be done to the road or improvements. If it's going to be under the 60-foot, then there's going to have to be additional right-of-ways and stuff, which is only going to pertain to the south half, and then the north half, I guess, is still open as far as I know. Because the only in question was the south half. So that would go back into a 40-foot. So it's to me, that doesn't make sense to go a half a mile 60-foot and a half a mile 40-foot.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was open north of there or not. I mean, I know we have on our.
Well,
maps that it is.
yeah, there seems to be a road bed there of some sort, but it's not. It's travelable by foot, about it now, but, so I don't know. We're trying, we would like to see the road reopened in under
When you
township
say
maintenance.
reopened, and that.
Well, I was under the impression that it was closed.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever closed. I don't think we have evidence that it was ever officially opened.
I thought the commission voted on a resolution to close the road.
They voted on a resolution that said that there wasn't sufficient proof that it had been opened.
Okay. Trickery of words there a little bit.
Well, it does make a difference, because like you say, if you find evidence that it had been opened, then it would exist as a 40-foot road.
Well, it says in here that if there is no road record found, then and it lies on a section line, it should be deemed a 40-foot.
But I think Pat said that there was
There's
statute or
There was a later
Resolution.
statute that vacated those. And I think it's probably in that same book. Is that by the Lyon County?
I don't know. It came from a
version?
handbook that the
Yeah.
that our neighboring county uses for reference. So
I think we use it too. I think it's County Road Laws of Kansas or something.
possibly. So
Do historic resolutions don't count as road records, even though it was voted on that it was a Walnut Township road?
Well, there was a resolution about declaring a road to be a minimum maintenance road, and that's what you're talking about. I mean, it's all part of why we have the ambiguity about it, and I'm hesitant to say, go ahead and open it when you have a landowner who apparently is not willing to give an easement for right of way. And it
well, he
seems
thinks there's
inconsistent.
an easement already in existence for a 40-foot.
So what would it hurt to sign something to make that official?
Oh, that there's a 40-foot right of way on the road?
Yeah.
Could possibly be. I'd have to contact them and see.
And I hadn't heard that
If they would-
the holdup was whether it was 40 feet or 50 feet. But if that's the.
Well, the
40 or
holdup
60,
was they didn't want to expand it to 60 because of the actual, the increased cost of widening the road further. So I think there's some standards on the width, which, is fine with the township, but not up, I don't think it's quite up to county standards for a new road. But if we agree that there's an existing right of way, then it's no longer a new road.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
I haven't seen evidence that there is. That doesn't mean that there's not evidence that there's an existing roadway or existing right of way. But I haven't seen it.
Well, it's concerning because we got several families that are affected by, we thought the road was closed and become a private road. So at this point, it's still in limbo.
Well, the person requested that they be given an address.
Right.
as
I
a
remember the
private
issues
enterprise.
involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is, we would like to see the road reopened to possibly help development in the future. And any of the other roads that.
I want to caution too, and not just in this case, but if there is expansion, you would say that road was open and expansion to the north. If there is a bridge or a major bridge there, the county is probably not going to be willing or can afford to put in $500,000, $600,000, $700,000
Right.
bridges, to.
There's a small creek to cross, and that's probably why the road is no longer used.
Yeah.
Whatever
So-
was there, whether it was a low water crossing or something, I don't know. For certain, I never walked it. But,
People like to build a house way back in and then they want
Yes.
all the services to it.
Yes.
Not every
Exactly.
case can we afford to do that. Casey, I think you had something.
Well, I was just curious, so we're waiting on Mr. Ernsten to give us a right of way or an easement, correct? That's what you're asking for, Pat? I was just,
I don't know that I'm in this. I don't know, I'm asking for anything. We had at one time, a spirit of cooperation suggested that. And he never returned it, although we were told that he was agreeable to do it. But if we have that and someone wants to petition to open the road, I can sure help with that.
The road's not closed.
If the road wasn't open, I mean, we keep getting into this circularity and no matter how many times we say it.
I guess it's
there is
a,
no
proof that it was
notion
ever-
wasn't.
it's a no-name road at this point. You
Right.
can't call it Trago, I guess, because it's not part of the Trago system, so.
But
So-
the other ends of Trago don't have easements recorded.
No. She looked back on the sections north, the sections that were in question, that mile, and the section south, and there is no recorded right-of-ways for the roads that are there now. So,
So it just doesn't make sense to me what the difference of.
no, it should be, I would think, means it's on a section line road, it should apply to all three sections that were investigated.
That's what makes sense.
And there is evidence that the road was open at one period in time.
They have some access to their property from the other side, just probably not as ideal.
Well, the problem's crossing the ravine. Yeah. Buddy, you wanna say anything about it? Okay, I thought maybe Fort Steins would come, but they're busy, but it's cut them off too.
I know where to find them.
Huh?
I know where to find them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next steps to remedy on this? I'm just asking. Because it's not gonna get fixed unless
I
we have a
guess
plan to
if
get
we
it fixed.
could contact Mr. Ernson and see if he's willing to acknowledge that he has to give 20 foot for a right of way. That will equal 40 foot, which is probably what's established there.
Well, I think it'd be 60 because the rest of us at 60, I think we've got right away on that, didn't we? We had easements on the rest or not?
Yeah, well,
Well, we-
On the other half,
they're
Yeah.
recorded. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But he's got the documents and he knows what we need.
I don't think his health is real well,
Yeah.
so
It's not,
no,
and that's why it's,
it's very difficult.
yeah. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, I know the east side would acknowledge that there's a 20 foot right of way on their behalf, and then if we could come to some agreement, that would be fine. I'd love to see the road reopened. We'll maintain it.
Sure.
They've gravelled it and widened it.
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks good, and but I'm hesitant because I thought it was closed, so where's my jurisdiction as far as the township? You know, at this point, I don't know where it starts and stops, so I guess if it isn't a road, we should be maintaining it at this point, so till we can get the matter resolved. Would that be sufficient if we could get them to acknowledge there's 20 foot?
That raises another issue that the commission would have to decide about whether they want to open a road that is 50 feet, because they have 30 feet on the east side. And if
Oh, that's right. That
Yeah.
was expanded on the.
Yeah, they've
okay.
already signed off on that.
That's right. You're right. You're right.
so. I mean, there's an ambiguity that exists there, and I think it's just bad practice to exacerbate that and make it worse that, but I can't tell him what to do if he's dead set on it only being 20 feet on his side,
Okay.
that's his decision. But then it would be another decision for the Board of County Commissioners on whether they want to open a road with that swirling this.
Yes.
So it might be easier if he would execute one with a 60-foot right of way. But I also understand not wanting to do that, so.
I understand. People don't want to give up. But that's what we run into. So, okay,
So you'll
Sam.
contact Mr. Ernson on that?
I will try to get his information. Do you have?
Yep.
Okay.
I can send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me if you can, K.S.A, and I will contact him and see if we can't get this matter resolved. One other question I had while we were here, Pat, we're eventually trying to find us a place to maybe build us a small little meeting place to have our meetings and stuff, and I noticed in the back of the manual, it mentions the use of eminent domain. If there is a I think it was a minimum of, or a maximum of 2 acres is all we could obtain for a township shop or meeting place or whatever. If we have a place picked out and we can't purchase the land, is that an option to go through? It says that the county could use eminent domain to acquire us up to 2 acres, I
I
think.
have not researched eminent domain powers of townships, but it would seem logical to me that they would have, that you would have that.
So that would be something that we could possibly, because it's gonna be difficult to buy a suitable spot. With either an astronomical amount of money or they're not interested in selling. We have to have a spot that's accessible, in winter time and stuff, and there is a few spots available, but I haven't moved forward on anything until I've discussed it with you. If that, we wouldn't want to really go that route unless we absolutely had to, but we definitely need to build us a small building or something and quit floating around.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. So I thought it looked like it was some provisions in there, so. Okay, so you will help us with that if need be or something.
Yeah, sure. If you want to reach out about it, I would.
Okay. Well, at least we know we can kind of look what to do now to move forward, so. Okay. I think that concludes what I need to talk about. Anybody?
Question about this Wichita Road that ends at the river road. To the very north end of Wichita Road. Is that still a township road? Cause it goes, I have gates on the west side of my property and I have to go down that road to get in those gates. And I just wonder if that's still an open road. I've had Kansas white-tailed deer place that bought the property that Punk's owned that was next to me. And I think, and they're what they're closing, that road's still legally accessible, so I can get to my backside of my land.
I'm trying to pull it up.
Is that one there? It used to be by Henry Poles?
Well, that's,
To the north.
that's the south side of Wichita Road.
Oh, okay, wrong. Okay.
But that road by Poles used to go all the way north to the river.
There's miles of roads that if you go back and look at older maps that have been either discontinued use or fell into disrepair all over,
Last I knew, it was like
all over down in there.
Had that been patrolled or maintained by a township?
it was at one time, because back in the 60s or maybe early 70s, there was a landslide. And they brought bulldozers in there to open it back up, so we could get to our backside of our property.
There's a lot of them have fell into disrepair over the years, and it's a shame because
Wichita Road, is that the one going north to 210? Is that the one he's inquiring about?
It actually, I come into it from River Road,
Where's the
down
road?
by Little Walnut Creek. Go, that's how I get up to the backside.
I think some of them roads are on the updated maps nowadays.
So there's 2 Wichita roads going south off 210. One shows no information, but the other one is a Atchison County local road. Are you
Lives on
familiar
the
with these
one,
ones
I think.
he's talking about?
No,
I pulled up your
I
map.
think
That's
the
it.
best thing would be to go talk to Roger and go through the process. And ask him the questions and he will look the information up and give you the best answer he
As far as I
possibly
know,
can.
it's never been officially closed.
Yeah, but that would be,
That's probably the case on a lot of them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Quit maintaining them and they growed up in brush.
We're not
Next
gonna
to
do
it's
that.
like it's some garage with these-
So if you would.
Yeah,
if you
because
would
if
go
it's
over
the
there
Wichita
and
on the
talk to
east,
him,
there's
he'll
like,
help you
it's a
with
white line, but there's no
Going
information.
through our process to give you the
But
best.
what poles is
answer
on
we
from
can.
shore, and it's only about a quarter mile or whatever it is.
I've
I
been
think
using that
that's
road
the
for all my
pole,
life.
the short Wichita, but then there's a Wichita right past it to the
Right,
east.
right.
It goes all the way to the county line, but there's no info on it, so I bet that's the one he's talking about.
Yeah, doing research on these old maps and stuff, there's all kinds of roads that half of them have been vacated down in that area. So,
We'll figure it out.
okay, sounds good. If
Thank
you
you.
can, send me that info and I'll contact you.
Do we want to introduce your Walnut Township clerk?
He's our new clerk,
Oh,
Blaine to say.
Blaine to say hi.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you finally.
He didn't
Glad
say
that you made
much.
it to a meeting. It's nice to meet you.
Okay, I think we got. We'll get out of here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with him and see if we can move forward. with something.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate y'all coming.
Thanks for the info.
You bet.
Thanks, guys.
And I'll just give you my copy of the later. Does you, any good? Yeah, I think I have the PDF version of it, but this will help.
Okay. Well, that way you know exactly what he was referencing.
Next on the agenda is Corey Scott, Chief of Emergency Services, 2025 budget discussion.
Morning.
Hey,
Good morning.
All right. I'm here. So,
Yeah.
well.
I don't know. I know I asked you to come to
Mhm.
discuss your proposal, but I don't know, and I know you've talked with them, but I have no idea what their ideas were, but.
Well, at the last commission meeting, it was expressed that we need to look for cuts. Mr. Rivas suggested, sorry, Dr. Rivas, apologize for that. Cuts, told to do something, so we looked at it. I want to frame this as, I'm not sure this is a good idea, but I did what I was asked, and we eliminated the potential assistant chief's position for EMS and rescue at salary and benefits somewhere near $100,000. I am concerned about that. And I did want to put some numbers out there, and I wanted the public to hear this so they understand. One, yeah, the EMS rescue budget looks scary, but we also folded rescue into EMS. So some of that money's being moved, not increased out of the emergency management budget. But 2 days ago, we surpassed our 2017 call volume in September. We're running on pace for 150 to 900 more calls than we did when the county took this over. So, I mean, this is not coming out of nowhere. This isn't fluff. This isn't, oh, Corey needs a fancy new desk. This is real, and these crews are running more and more calls, and we've added people to accomplish that. And it's a concerning thought that will run short. Just for reference, Friday and Saturday, last Friday and Saturday, our crews ran 32 calls across 48 hours.
You guys, I noticed that.
Just
It's amazing. Calls.
And since last Tuesday, they've run 75 calls. That's 12 and a half calls a shift. I don't know that that's going to be the norm, but it continues to climb. And so I just want the commission and the public to hear that I get it. I get it. I don't want my property taxes to go up. Nobody does, but how do we keep covering more and more calls, more and more work?
Right.
So just wanted to put that out there.
My question on that position is, with all your transition, is this a position you need right now, or is this a position that can wait until the next budget year? Is it some of your cap, is your cap?
Well, and
is that right?
I've discussed this specifically with Eric when he caught me over in Effingham the other day. The plan, if we do this, is to potentially open it up to our current officers as a pay increase and a duty increase, but they would still remain on shift and still perform their captain's duties as well. So I did leave enough in there that there could be a pay raise, and then maybe look at creating this position later on. And with the plans that were brought up in the last commission meeting, which I do support, the sales tax idea, I think has some merit.
Yeah.
It really has some merit.
That's why, that's where I wanted to ask that, because.
Because how do we-
Route, then.
How do we keep funding this as the call? And I wish I could sit here and tell you, oh yeah, first of the year, the call volume is gonna drop back down, normalize. We're gonna run 2,000 calls a year again. I wish I had that magic 8 ball. you know, and I've spoke to other medical professionals and, I don't want to name names because I think there's some conditions of anonymity in this, but doctors that think that this is not going to get better, that this is the tip of the spear on the collapse of our medical system. That may be hyperbole, that may be, you know, the sky's falling, but our population continues to age. We're going to get called more and more and more. And where's this headed? So I just wanted to frame that, you know.
I appreciate your candor and possible cut, and I think we have to take it very seriously. I think that next year is going to be another very difficult year, budget year, and I hate to make that transition now and then would have to eliminate that position or have a mandatory cut. So our discussion revolved mainly about like a transitory time where you could give some of those duties and compensate them for increased duties, and then in a year or two, go with the full position instead of going and using the 100,000 this year to help lower the budget. So I'm for it, but I recognize the need for additional compensation and for duties as the duties increase, but maybe not the full position funding right now.
I mean, if the call volume continues to go up, at some point we have to realistically look at maybe adding another person per shift.
I was gonna ask that as my next question.
You know, we, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago, added a person per shift and then set a minimum shift requirement. Well, we've never been able to utilize that minimum because the call volume so much, we basically had to jump the minimum from 5 to 6, where I'm sure you remember when we talked about it right after the COVID, we were going to do that minimum staffing rule where we could go down to 5 to save money, but we just haven't been able to utilize it because we're just so busy. So we've almost made 6 the mandatory number at this point. So it's something. So just wanted to frame it.
I just have a few questions. Obviously you're running the ship and you're making the calls. I appreciate you being willing to cut your budget. It was surprising to me and it made me nervous from what we've seen historically when one person puts too much on themselves, that it's never a good outcome. And sometimes we don't notice until the person's no longer here of what's missing. So I guess when you started off today, you phrased that you're not sure it's a good idea, and then talked about the calls going up. So is this plan sustainable, whether it be for you or for your people? Because compensation is one thing, but everything you endure in your profession and your people is more than just more money, right? Of like, it's a lot on your back. So I just want to make sure that you're confident. I mean, because again, I'm going with your recommendation. You're the one running it. You know what you need to run it. But I just want to make sure that it's sustainable for the people.
Again, I don't have that crystal ball. I don't know what this call volume is going to do. I don't know how much more the hospital's going to put off on us and transfers. I think 1 year, I wouldn't have put it out there if I didn't think I could take on that much for 1 year. You know, since essentially February, I've taken on those extra duties and it's been manageable. I'm much more worried about my own crews. I am without a doubt the least important person in that service. But it is extra workload on the crews too.
So are you willing to pass some of those duties around to your captains to be able to make your job not just not
No,
easier, but more manageable?
Regardless of your decision today, I think we're going to my plan is some type of promotion process that gets opened up.
Yeah.
Because talking about EMS, but we have to look at it. It's a big picture now that we've rolled EMS and rescue together. The rescue call volume has gone up. They're on pace for over 300 calls, and historically they run around 170. So
Right.
that puts me in the field, especially during the day, a lot more. So that takes me away from my admin duties, because during the day, being volunteer, 1 to 3 of us respond to calls during the day because the volunteers are at work, and some of them out of the area at night. At night, it's great. You know, they got lots of people at night. And it's not picking on our volunteers. They do a wonderful job. I inherited a great group
They
of
have other
people.
jobs.
But
Yeah.
it is the reality during the day that I've had to start running more of the rescue calls.
I guess this is the day that we're certifying our budget, so you just need to tell us. You need to make this, if you're comfortable with cutting 100,000.
If that's what needs to happen, if that's what I gotta do to play ball, and that's what I've been asked to do, I will figure it out. I just hope there's some-
knowing next year we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, is there consideration down the road? And it seems like there's also a plan in place for this sales tax initiative, correct?
I mean, I think we have to.
It seems like that's.
And I think that has a lot of merit. I think that's a more equitable way to fund this across the board than we've been doing. I think it has a lot of merit. I really do.
And what's your plan? Let's talk through this, just in case, the what ifs, right? What is our backup plan if you get halfway through the year and realize it's not sustainable? And for all of us, right? Like because at the end of the day, we don't want to lose good people because we made a decision that
Well,
we weren't sure of, right? Like that's the thing for me of just knowing.
the backup plan is the I don't want to call it temporary, but the partial promotion. That's the backup plan, is to spread the workload a little more on the existing staff.
To the people
Yeah.
of your department
Mhm.
pooling together.
Yeah, and normally I've got better backup plans in here than that, but that's what I've got, so.
Okay.
You might have to see me more.
What we're here for.
Might be, so. Ultimately, it's not an easy decision. Ultimately, it's the 3 people in front of me's decision. I was asked to find a way, and this is really the only. I know you've all poured over this budget. You know what's in here. I mean, the only big numbers are staff. That's people.
Right.
That's where the big money is. And you got to have people to run those calls.
With your call volume, that's right. It's difficult to do efficiencies in scheduling staff or crews because you can't predict.
When we've absolutely tried, and what we've discovered in running those statistics is we stay steady all day, every day. I mean, there's a little peak around 4 to 6 in the afternoon, and there's a little dip at 3 to 5 in the morning. Other than that, they just run calls all day and all night. Yeah, we've absolutely looked at the statistics. Say, can we go down to 4 people on Sunday? There's not enough difference in call volumes, 3 to 5% maybe we drop on a given day. It just.
Not this weekend.
No, and that's probably to a degree an anomaly, but we're trending that direction, We ran 5.6 calls a day, 2017, 2018. And now we're running, it doesn't sound like a lot, but we're running 7.5 to 8.5 calls a day now. That doesn't, but when it becomes aggregate across a year, that stresses the system. That adds fuel, that adds something people might not realize. It adds overtime. Because calls come out at 7 in the morning, that crew has to go. They can't wait for the 8 o'clock crew to come on. And then they're on a call past their shift change, and we're paying them overtime. We're paying them to write their reports, and increased call volume has an aggregate effect. So.
So I do have a question, sorry. If there's a partial promotion, and you have cut this, position that you wanted to restructure with, is there going to be overtime for a raised cost of that
I think I
individuals now hourly pay?
factored that in, yeah, but it's a bit of an educated guess.
Okay.
We just don't know how much that position's gonna incur. But
didn't
I
want-
did
didn't wanna
factor
see you
that in.
Put that out and then have those costs anyways because of that overtime from that individual doing this.
Correct.
Yeah, I listened carefully and he said that he had that factored in. So, because that was one of my questions.
But I don't have
You need a partial of that back to
Yeah.
fund these things,
But I don't have an exact figure.
I've been doing it for 5 years, it'd be different. This is the
Correct.
first year.
You'd
so
have
it's
historical data for this position. We've also had to factor in, the rescue squad taking up more of the personnel budget, because boy, they're running a lot of calls for little volunteer rescue squads, so.
Okay, so we're going to cut 100,000. Is that what I'm hearing from EMS?
I believe so. Thank you for
Thanks real quick on the equipment. Is everything in now pretty much? We're getting.
They're actively training on the CPR machines. I left. They were, the instructor and the sales rep was there. They'll be here the next 3 days, training EMS, rescue, and fire department on those. The ambulance is ordered, but as we spoke about, it may not be here till 2027.
Right.
I think equipment, we're in a pretty good position. We need to, though, look at a few little, well, I say little things. Our first generation of power cots, those two were purchased in 2017 and 2018. You start planning for that. Need probably at least one more cardiac monitor in the next couple of years to replace aging ones. I do have the CIP plan for the EMS side finished for the next 10 years. The rescue squad side, I've got a couple gaps. I want to still talk to the rescue squad members and get some ideas of where their head's at. So I think I've got 7 of the next 10 years with a CIP request for that. So.
Quick question on that CPR machines. I know we approved it with ARPA and you explained it's basically helps sustain manpower. But can you just, from your words, like give a little explanation of the need of those machines?
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful and beneficial for the public.
Mechanical CPR is the gold standard in how we provide resuscitative care, meaning chest compressions. People tire. Current standards with CPR is you rotate out people providing chest compressions every 2 minutes, because the study shows the efficacy goes down drastically after 2 minutes. The other problem with switching people out is that refractory period between switching people. No matter how efficient and quick and well trained you are, there is a time off the chest, meaning nobody is providing compressions. You lose all the blood pressure. You lose every bit you gained in providing essentially blood to the brain. That's the goal. We want to keep the tissues viable until we can get medications on board, till we can do defibrillation, till we can do things to actually refire the heart. So mechanical CPR doesn't tire. It doesn't stop. So once we apply that machine, we hit start, it provides CPR from the instant it's turned on till the instant the call is over, whether that is expired, the patient expires, or until we achieve resuscitation, which is called ROS, return of spontaneous circulation. So those machines means the paramedic can give medications and make clinical decisions. It means the EMT can assist the paramedic. It means we don't need hands on that chest. And it provides much, much more efficient chest compressions. So better blood flow to the heart and lungs and brain. So the tissues are more viable for those advanced care procedures to resuscitate that patient. It's just much, much more efficient process.
You also mentioned like going downstairs, things like that.
Well, yeah, this community's built on bluffs, right? So we're always going up and down stairs. We're always going in and out of Victorian era houses with tiny little rooms and little stairs. Typically, we have to stop CPR in those moments. The new devices we bought do not. Once we apply that in the house, we can put them in a stair chair and it'll do CPR. We can turn them upside down, it'll do CPR. We can put them on a spine board. It never stops.
I just have a question on how quick, I don't know how they're applied, and it looks like that you would almost delay the start of it by having to get there and strap somebody into this. So I've never seen one.
I'm gonna have to go through the training to see exactly how quickly we can apply it. I know it's gonna be quicker than our old machines. It's a much more efficient process.
Mhm.
From watching the sales rep videos, it looks like about a 30-second process, but yeah, there
Well-
has to be a delay.
I mean, I would be interested in that because everything from the size of the patient to, to getting it in the right spot and how quickly you can get it strapped on,
Yeah.
it looks like it would take longer.
Yeah, the machines are fairly intuitive. They've got, markers and
Mhm.
what I want to say, yellow lines, so you know exactly where to put it. But I'll go through the training just like everybody else this afternoon. I've never used this particular device. I've used several of the other devices on the market, but I'll go through the training and have a better idea of how quickly we can apply it this afternoon. So.
Okay.
Answer the question?
Yeah, you did. No, thank you very much,
you.
because.
Very good, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Okay, next on the agenda, I just put on here additional 2025 budget cuts discussion to follow up after our workshop last week. Just wanted to see, I know you sent us the budget recap of what we decided last week, but if you could just refresh my memory to make sure my notes are right, or I could read the notes to make sure if they're right, or whatever is easier, but talking about the mills and the cash and where we're at and
Okay.
what we cut and what's left. and-
So in talking about cuts, you guys went through the appropriations last week. And reduced quite a few of those. And then the county clerk reduced 20,000 of their budget for renovations. And that's all the reductions. So based on those, your mill rate was, I think, 56 point. I don't know. I've already made Corey's change, so.
Okay, well, so I had 56.947 is where we started.
That's where you started. Mhm.
And
I think it went down to 56 point something 8.
yep, 885,
Yeah,
but not with Corey's change.
not with Corey's change. So by reducing the appropriations and the county clerk, we reduced down the cash that we needed. So it equaled out the amount, the same mills there. So the cash now that we would be needing instead of the number before is 666,689. So it's just a little bit more than last year's number of 666,058.
Okay. And that's with Corey?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I reduced Corey's just now, and we're looking at a mill of 56.423. And so what that equivalates to tax dollars from where we were at, the 56.947 is $117,500 roughly. Because really, the only thing that happened was we reduced 100,000 for Corey for EMS and 20,000 from county clerk. So even though we reduced those appropriations,
Took
we
it away
didn't
from
need it.
cash.
Yeah, we took it away from cash, so that was a wash. But the 100,000 and the 120, then you factor the NRP in that 120, so it's 117.5 of what you actually did.
Okay.
Because the NRP you have to make up, it's a percentage based on the tax dollars.
thank you. Okay, so I've been racking my brain and going through everything and trying to think of all the feedback that we've gotten from everyone. And I have some thoughts that I like to propose, and quick question, County Counselor, do we have a closing date on the land yet?
We do not. but
Okay.
We do have, we do have the final legal description.
Okay. You brought up last maybe last week, maybe the week before, of that ARPA. And I was against it because putting more cash doesn't solve our problem, okay? So hear me out, because I have a thought. We had COLAs. That's not an every year, right? That's a one-time thing, and that was $220,000. What if we utilize some of the ARPA for the COLA portion of the 220? It's not something staring back at us. It's a COLA. Might be there next year, might not, right? Like, I just think without having a closing date, I think that we're doing that timeline down, that if we can find uses like your suggestion that won't be staring back at us, it's not like we're just putting cash in there to let it come back. But I think if we could offset that, I mean, that's $220,000. Would that help us?
As long as we use it, take it off the mill and don't take it off cash.
Okay,
We gotta
I'd like to
look at
take
mill.
it, yeah, I'd take it off the mill.
okay.
But you said 220, but wasn't the figure last year, the 390 for we're talking about the fall work? The grading,
Yeah, sorry.
and
So I thought we were at 365, but that was before a couple things got put back
Yeah, so it's
on.
like 340.
So 340. But
340.
yeah, but 220 is what that estimate was for our COLAs, correct?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So of the ARPA.
Yeah.
Reduce the mill, taking the COLAs out of the budget. Utilizing that, lower the mill. It won't be coming back at us. It won't be looking back at us next year. Just a thought.
Trying to wrap my head around.
I know, and I,
And so the
It's-
proceeds from these
it's-
villages, we want to use part of that towards the.
I would like to add to, if you do utilize ARPA for COLA, historically COLA is given within the next year. And it's usually the second payroll of January, since those are the working dates of January of the next year. So if you utilize it as ARPA funds, it will have to be administered before the 31st of the year. So it will,
you're talking 2 weeks earlier.
Well, so
well,
maybe
it'll
it's,
fall within,
maybe the intent is towards gold, but maybe it's actually put towards. One of the other. budget
Put it to something
categories.
else to roll it
Yeah, that's
over
what I was
to utilize.
Say we're just general payroll
But making sure
this year, yeah.
that it's COLA, because
Yeah.
it's like we have to find those one-time things that
Well,
it's not just
Aaron,
padding with more cash, because that never solves our problem. But I think that for the mill issue, it might help.
well,
That'd be
that's kind of, yeah, a marriage between what we're both thinking. I would go along with that. Would we only take the COLA off, but there would still be some of that
So I
amount?
have another proposal for the other.
Okay, I figured there would be something more there.
So are we in favor then of utilizing,
So far.
okay. Just so for your notes to help us, because like at the end of this, I'd like to know like kind of where we're at.
I'm not sure I'm completely following, but
Well,
I can circle back.
no, go ahead.
So you're wanting to take COLA off the budgets?
Okay, so the
Be
way
funded from ARPA.
ARPA,
Use
They
the
still
ARPA.
get it.
Well, I think the real question, is use part of the ARPA money to fund the budget. To fund our expenses, and so we can use that, we have to use it this year.
for
Yeah.
that dollar amount
Yeah.
though, for ARPA, so that we
Yeah.
know. Cause so the COLAs are in our budget, just in
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
So if we say, okay, there's 220 in our budget. And it's gonna be a one-time thing, and we use the ARPA to say, all right, this 220 from ARPA is going right over here to offset this baby, and
Yeah, the only hang up with that is how do I obligate it?
That's where,
Yeah.
so can we obligate it if we do it 2 weeks early, like you
No, 'cause
suggest?
it's not a one-time 200,000 out. It's throughout the entire year, 200,000.
So
Okay.
that's what was payroll
Got
this
it,
year,
yep.
and we make an adjustment somewhere else, I mean.
So
offset that.
on your side of things, Jody, would that just show as a credit in that line item that you pull from, or how does that look like? I mean,
it pulls from your personnel service line within each budget.
okay,
So,
and
it
if-
depends on whether or not you would like to pull it from that line item for those in the next year, 2025, or if you guys decide to use it in 2024. That's more on his side of things as far as finance.
Okay.
Could it
Correct
be
me
in,
if I'm-
Good.
it's what?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Commissioner Rivas was wondering or suggesting, what if we just used it to cover payroll in December? And then that would change our carryovers.
And then use the
So
carryover
that it
to
would be
fund
gone.
the COLA.
It
There
would
would
be
be-
spent already this year.
Yeah, because the ARPA deadline and all that, so unless we're contracting something, if we're buying something, it's one thing, but this is a payroll expense.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, your rollovers aren't by line item, it's as a whole. So,
Yeah. We just end up in reserve, I think you almost, I guess.
that would be based on how your departments utilize that rollover at that point.
Well, let's,
But on the accounting front, we can notate all of this, right? Like,
Sure.
like, this is what we're doing and this is, and communicate that to all departments that this is your COLA, so implement it accordingly. Right?
Nothing will change there. There are no COLAs in the budget, so I mean, it's just, that's gonna happen. I mean,
Okay,
so what was the,
that's my first proposal. My second is the other two discretionary nonprofits of Project Concern is $100,000 and Achievement Services is $35,000. So hear me out. If we take those out of the budget, okay, and allow from today to December 1st for the community to step up and go out and secure other ways of funding those two organizations. So Project Concern is part of the foundation. They're part of United Way, which opens up their applications on November 1st. Achievement Services isn't part of either one. But I have faith in our community that we can rally for those dollar amounts. Hear me out. And follow along with the progress by December 1. And if we don't, the money is there for ARPA to say, okay, here's your 2025 funding. And that's planned for 2026 not to have it, right? I think it's time. The feedback I've gotten from the community is the community will support the needs of our community. It doesn't have to be done through ad valorem taxes, and I think that this is a good win-win of you have a backup plan, but you have time to initiate support. And it's perfect timing because I have a Project Concern board meeting tomorrow. So I can bring them in to help, and we will pound the pavement and get people to support those two organizations because we know how critical they are to our community.
in order to do it, that scenario, you would have that ARPA money untethered until the very end of December. And if
December
it
1.
did come through that, what would we do with that at the very,
Great
I
question.
mean, because we're only gonna have a week to deal with it, and I don't know
No,
whether
we
we
have a
can.
month.
Huh?
I think we should do it by December 1st. That's so we'd have a month.
let me throw a couple of
Yeah, come on.
roadblocks for you here.
Yep.
Okay. United Way just opened their time of giving and all that. Other organizations aren't, if a part of United Way, aren't supposed to be raising money then. So you're gonna try to do a community-wide fundraiser at a time when a lot of folks are kind of hamstrung about really doing it, okay? So that's a challenge. That's why we do the foundation thing, we did it, and that's why United Way had their kickoffs, and now
Okay.
we often go to the races, but
Okay.
I don't think I know it's not realistic to think you're gonna raise that much money on a short time frame without a plan.
Okay.
I mean, this is a kind of a major fundraising project, okay, so we just did that.
Okay.
And we're doing it again. And I think a lot of your donors are probably gonna be like, what, maybe not right now, okay. So the other thing is the city and the county, and I don't know where this is written down, but my understanding is project concern has always been. City provides the building, utilities. Pays a lot of the insurance, all that kind of stuff. County gives them some cash, and then they get their funding from the feds to do their meals.
Okay.
And that's been the trifecta, maybe it's four-way, maybe the state does some stuff, so. And that's what works, that's what's been working. If we do this, it's literally just throwing a wrench in the gears, it's gonna be a mess, so I think the concept. From 20,000 feet's great,
Okay,
for a year or two down the road,
okay.
lay the groundwork, how can we do this differently? Okay, but to
So-
do it today that, hey, guess what? We just did this, you got a month to raise money, that's not gonna work.
Okay, so what if we just fund them with the ARPA and give them a year and 3 months?
Well, we can use the ARPA money to fund them, I'm just saying, but.
That could be their 2025 appropriation.
But if the conversation needs to be, we need to, everybody sit down and talk about another way to do this, get them at the table and say, how else can we do this?
Yeah.
Or is there another way?
But
Okay.
if next year we won't have ARPA, and if we continue to fund them, it'll be the cash thing again.
Yep.
Because we will have to raise,
But in the discussions that we had is like, okay, reduce now and then completely do later on.
And I need to clarify the foundation's role. But the foundation is an organization that just helps be the conduit for donors to get money to funds.
Right.
The foundation itself doesn't have that much money for itself to like dole out or whatever, okay, it's very small.
Right, yeah,
So we're more like an administrative organizational body, okay,
yep.
so. They can just magically say, oh, here's $125,000 for somebody.
No, I
So,
know, no,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to come off that way.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is. It's
Right,
no different than having like a chili supper, like, come on, we're raising money here, right? Like, it's just
yeah, so.
a little more aggressive, but to that point, if we funded it with ARPA and gave a year and 3 months, that gives people a plan and a vision forward to get all those things you just suggested. Everybody at the table and figure out how to fund these babies without ad valorem taxes in the future, and gives them a little fire to get set up with a foundation,
Yeah.
to get set up with other funding mechanisms
Yeah.
instead of,
It might be a 3-year plan, maybe it's a little bit less each year while they,
yeah. And
boost this up while they grow that, but that, all that strategy needs to be worked out well in advance of.
you know,
Just make it as.
I couldn't be on board with knowing that that was it. You know, we may decide to fund them like always next year. I mean, I don't think I want to commit to cutting them completely when there's no more ARPA dollars.
Okay,
But for this year, I think I could go along with that, but I want to be clear, then this would take off the table, starting the road and bridge
yes.
grading and all
Well,
that.
it would take it off the table for using ARPA money. I mean,
Yes.
but,
Right.
Well, but the timeline is what I'm concerned
Yeah.
about, and we don't even have a closing date, like, we're in October
Right,
almost.
the money's still there to buy the land.
Yeah.
And then,
That's already allocated out of
and
our,
there's.
Yeah, and I'm
senior
for
village-
that.
Senior village proceeds,
definitely
if we need to slowly do like utilities, then do this, then do that, whatever. There's things we can talk about later, but. But for the current being budget time, I'd be okay with the ARPA money.
Okay, Mark, this is throwing a lot on you.
I'm just trying to,
Catch up.
do one thing. while
Alright.
You guys are hashing out. another.
and we can slow down
Yeah,
too,
with
we can
this.
take a
I
breath.
want that to help the mills.
Go ahead.
No, I agree.
I have a question. I was doing some other things, so. You guys had asked me to move forward with the
Like getting the grading and
grading and all that done. Did you just say not to do that, or we're still doing that?
So we will pay for that out of the capital funds from senior village is what the plan was, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't need you to be in a rush now, right? Like, we
Okay,
put you in a
because
rush.
I've been
because
pushing,
You have so many things on your plate that I
Yes.
feel like this is just an alignment of, we don't have a closing date. It's almost October
okay,
and we can slow down.
because I have been
and-
pushing really hard.
Yep,
To get the information I needed.
we can
Yeah.
take a breath.
Okay. I just want to know where I stood.
Well,
in it.
because
So, no,
December 31st is gonna be here before,
No, I totally understand.
know.
There's a lot going on. So I just wanted to make sure that. Okay, Alright.
Well, with harvest coming up, in all fairness, the guy farming that, I mean, they probably need to plan what to do with it. They gotta take care of this field, so they may wanna plan on a plan next year, so maybe not that happens till next fall. You know, literally, so I mean, there's time.
Alright. Thank you. I didn't mean to,
No.
I just was
you're-
trying to get some other stuff.
And
accomplished.
and all that stuff, and then not farm it.
Yeah, especially the, well, I mean, the footprint of what would be started. I mean, the rest of that, and I don't know whether we need a contract, if he's gonna be farming anything beyond that's gonna any potential grading or anything like that, and he'll still farm that, whether we need to have that into some kind of agreement with him. I don't know what the city had, but
That'd be
that's,
the next step is to figure that out.
but again, on farm law, if he potentially, and I don't know this, I'm just thinking the what ifs. If he took the corn off but went in there and sowed wheat, he would have it locked up for next year under
Right.
basis. So I mean, we ought to have something
A discussion.
fairly soon or a notification or whatever on our intentions, so we don't get into, I mean, and I'm not even for it, but if it happens, I want it to be right.
Well, we
Exactly.
can't, yeah, we can't give notification until we own the land and so whenever
Right,
that
that
is.
needs
but-
to be thought of because, you know, that.
What is that? Is it March 1? I can't remember when you have to give notice for the following year, March.
Well, it's 30 days before the end of February. So it's
Okay.
actually a little before,
Yeah,
Okay.
but if they sow wheat, there's a thing about that.
30 days before the end of March.
Okay. I thought it was around March 1,
Okay.
but no, I know what you're saying. I follow
Yes,
along.
yeah, we're with you.
Yeah.
There's a
So-
lot, there's a,
And he's been calling me like often, asking for
and
updates.
I don't
and I told-
anticipate any problems. I just want to,
Yeah, I
that
told
we
him, I
know
said,
the-
as soon as we own it, I'll let you know, and then we can get our heads together on what the plan is. But until then,
Yeah.
keep doing you, keep farming and all the things, so. Okay,
30 days before March 1st.
30 days before March 1st. I knew March 1st was a number. or
Well,
Yeah.
it was 30 days and sometimes February has 28 and sometimes 29. It causes problems, so. 30 days before March 1st.
Okay, so
Okay.
did we give clear
So I think I kind of have how we can use the ARPA funds
Okay.
to help us
Okay.
for the COLA.
Okay.
With the caveat, though. We have to like put it in the back end, so we have to. Basically spend it now against the general budget. With there being, which would help. The 2024 numbers to carry forward into 2025. But there's gonna be. Pretty much the COLA, if that's what you're wanting to allocate the ARPA for. You're getting it pre-funded in 24. So it's being paid for in 24, but utilized in 25. So it'll go against the general, not. Each department, it'll go against the general.
okay, but it's still
I think
that
that's the
amount,
only way that we can
just
make-
COLA, that's it. So when someone asks, like, here's what we paid in COLA and this is what's funded with.
And what number? I had 240, but what did you have?
Well, no, 240 might be it
Okay.
now,
Okay,
after a couple. But
yeah, because we changed.
yeah, that was in May that I had, so,
Because we had said every employee gets the COLA, not,
Right.
and that, I think the 240 is that's the proper number.
that's,
So if you were, I'm on board with that. What did you guys say about project concern and achievement service?
to fund them with ARPA, but
ARPA.
use them, but affect the mill if you can.
Okay, so how that would work is pretty much the same thing. We would write them a check now, but tell them it's for 2025. They can do whatever they want with it right
Right,
now, but
yep.
that's our contribution for 2025.
Okay.
That way it gets it off the books in 24. So based on that, out of that 339 and some change that was left, like the remainder of what's left from the grading, sewer, water, all that stuff. If you take out the 240, you're only left with a little over 100. I don't know how you want to divvy that out.
So we could,
Or we just lower one of the other things that we forecasted, like the sheriff AC unit on the jail. Or the sheriff outfitting 2 patrol cars. Those could be lowered down a little to make up the difference. Because you guys haven't really approved that yet. It's just a placeholder.
we still have some in the 897, correct?
That's correct. You do.
What if we just match the difference with the 897?
I don't want to take any more out of there.
Yeah, I haven't been lucky. You're gonna need that next year. I leave it alone.
So you're off $135,000. So you're about $35,215 short from ARPA. If you want to fund both those appropriations.
35.
What if we just do project concern that way and leave achievement services the way it was?
Or do project concern and then a portion of achievement services? Because more than likely, we're gonna have a rollover that could cover the 35,000.
Yeah. Probably.
And do we have to wait on every department for the 13th month or, okay,
It's gonna be shorter this year because I'm not dealing with how we did it last year. We just kept hurting ourselves
Yeah.
with cash. Expensing out of 24 when it was really, we were already in 25, so we're only gonna have a couple weeks of it.
Okay.
They should, every department should have invoices turned in by then.
so if we're 35,000 short and we cut a check to project concern and just do that, we were funding achievement services 35.
Right.
So we'll just leave that one as is and
You just do project concern.
project concern.
100,000.
That
Yeah.
looks like the simplest way of out of that.
Okay.
Now, does part of that ARPA money have to be used to pay the consultant?
Yes, and it's already factored
That's
in.
in factor, I want to make sure it's factored in.
And that's the ones that Roger was talking about, the,
No,
No,
that's
the-
the Lloyd Group that
Oh, yes.
helped get this all squared away for you guys when it first came in 24.
okay, but what about what Roger was talking about?
So that's part of that court allocation
Yeah,
that is gonna come up in about 3 minutes.
okay, so that's coming out of that. That is
Yeah.
coming out of there,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, sorry, I'll be quicker.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, I have 2 more thoughts. Wanted to get clarity. The county clerk had asked for an increase. And I was just wondering where you guys are at on that. If you're in favor of that,
I leave it alone.
you're in favor. Okay. I am not in favor, but that's fine, 2 to 1. Okay. So I have one more proposed cut that could possibly save us 74,000. And I feel like this is a perfect time. Every decision that we make as a commission affects someone else. And we are in a position to lower another 74 to $80,000 by removing our commission salaries and health insurance. And hear me out. We talked to Corey about how things have changed over the years. Call volumes up, everything's different. Things have changed with the county commission as well, in the fact we no longer have senior village to manage. We also have added a finance director that handles all of our budget pieces. So to me, our decision to do this is like beautiful in the fact that it only affects us 3 sitting right here, which is huge because it gives us an opportunity to lead by example and to lower the mills even more.
I would not support that at all. And I'm not gonna be here, so it affect me. But I see with all these other county commissioners I've met with around the state. They all get paid something. What's been good, this commission over the years, they very seldom get a raise. They've kept it down. This commission gets paid less than most county commissions. So, I mean, you're lowered to 20,000, right?
Mhm.
For next year.
Yeah, we have lowered it this year.
Which, you know, I mean, if you want to say no health insurance or something, that's up to you guys, but I think as far as a base pay, it takes a lot of time. It does take a lot, and gas and A lot of running, a lot of meetings that have to get reimbursed for, so, we can all afford not to get paid, but I do think there's other people who will be in this position that having a little bit of stipend is okay. So I don't think it's outrageous amount.
How do you feel? Because you and I are gonna be sitting here together for the next 4 years.
Yeah. And
Um,
I definitely agreed with going back to the 20. The 20 was established well before I started, and that's 20 per commissioner. And I was not in favor of doing the COLA adjustments every year. That's the reason mine is much lower, because I refused the COLA for several years. But I don't. I'm not for taking that off. I'm for keeping it the way we budgeted.
wow. Okay. So I didn't think it would, I thought you guys would be in favor because it's just like perfect time to lead by example and show the community that we really care. And
I do think this commission has led by example, K.S.A. I don't think that's fair.
well, so.
Over the years, the county commission in general for the last 15 or 20 years, has been very responsible
Oh,
about
100%.
keeping their salaries at a low level.
So there's just a few things for my justification on my salary and benefits, and that's my commission role has changed over this past year. I feel like the finance director has added a huge benefit to everything. I mean, he's basically sending us information and like, hey, let me know what you think about this. And our employees are writing our policies for us. Our agenda asks for our approval. All of our department heads have done their due diligence, and we just have to come on Tuesdays from 9 to 1 and say, okay, we approve. Last month, things had changed on the way a commissioner can communicate with staff and department heads. And I was told that I'm not like, a commissioner is not allowed to ask questions of our department heads without the body, which 100%, I follow what the direction is of the commission. So I show up on Tuesdays and look forward to talking to our department heads. But as far as the amount of time and effort that has been put into my position over the past 4 years, this past year it has drastically changed. I think it's pretty in tune with like the city commission, right? They have their city manager that meets with the departments. I did talk to them. They do go line item by line item through the budgets like we do. But having our finance director, it's essentially the same. So also the feedback that I get from the public and the constituents, as well as our staff, our department heads, like it's not positive. So again, I just think that we're in such a pickle that this is the perfect time to show servant leadership and to do what's right.
We do show servant leadership. I don't appreciate your approach on that. And I do think there's a huge difference. Being a former city commissioner for 13 years, there's a significant difference in what this role is and that role is. This role is a lot more work than that role. So there's no comparison at that level, okay? So I support leaving the salaries alone, and if he agrees, then I think we're done talking about it.
Well, that's okay, but I just want you to know that I don't appreciate you taking an elected official into executive sessions to tell me how to commission and how to have a relationship with my department heads.
That discussion
Because-
was about boundaries.
No, that
Okay.
discussion was about K.S.A. Quinn,
And
commissioner,
about boundaries.
and not to ask any of our department heads questions to learn more. So I guess at that point, if you two aren't in favor, can you at least vote that I will not take anything for the next 4 years I'm 20,000's not a lot in benefits, but it's just the way this has went the past year, it's been disgusting, and it's prevented me from performing in the way that I'm meant to lead, so.
I agree with Alan. I don't have the perspective of knowing what the city commissioners do, so I appreciate that. I think it's like anything, if you're not compensated, I don't know, people that you'd almost have to be a completely retired person to be able to have the time and effort without being compensated to take this job.
Oh, that's disheartening. I
Uh.
don't feel like I'm that, but
No, it's
Well-
true for a lot of people though.
But if you are financially able to do it, fantastic, but there's a lot of people that don't have the means to do it, and I think it would be taking it away from them. I think we've all given our all on our duties do change a little bit from position to position because of what I know you took on a lot with the nursing home. And you put a lot of work, so that did change a lot for you getting rid of that. But as far as my workload on the boards and things that I serve on and deal directly with, I haven't changed very much at all. So I guess that would, and I don't know if there's any way to even that out. I mean, because when you were involved with the nursing home, this happened to be when a lot of the stuff was going on, which made it even worse with the COVID and all of that. So, and I appreciate the work that you've done there, but I'm not for removing the compensation.
and to your point, I don't think serving on a board has anything to do with where they're at financially. Like when times get tough, I mean, we're asking the public, when times get tough and costs go up, you cut back or you work harder. So I'm not looking at it like that. I'm looking at it like other board positions that do things because they do care for little to nothing. So all right, so where are we at, Mark? So is that something we have to remain the same, or I don't know, is there a statute on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's a statute on it. There's not a state statute on it. I don't know whether FLSA would require that you be paid at least minimum wage anyway, but I can sure get that answer to you today.
Thank you. All right, Mark Zeltner, Finance Director, ARPA purchase order approval, courts renovation allocation, formal approval.
Yeah, so, we didn't have it formally approved by the board to up to that 63,000 and some change number. We just kind of loosely said that's what we were gonna give the courts. But now that we're getting invoices in to pay for courts renovation, I need something to pay against and to have approval for it. So instead of coming and having an approval every time there's an invoice, I asked that we approve it up to the dollar amount one time, and then I'll just pay up to that dollar.
Okay. So I look for a motion to approve the purchase order out of the ARPA funds to courts for allocation for courts renovations not to exceed $63,168.61. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
And I can give you updates, weekly or bi-weekly, however you guys want on the what's remaining.
Okay. I also noticed that there's the pass-through fund. Do you want me to go ahead and do that one?
Yes, please. That did not make it on the agenda because it just came this morning. There was 2 checks that we received for Ensign. And they total to that dollar amount. So I'm gonna create a check and to pay that money to them.
Okay. So I look for a motion to approve this purchase order for the out of the Senior Village Pass-Through Fund to Atchison Senior Village in the amount of $9,212. It's just money is received from Ensign after the sale dates of service.
Make so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. There you go. and I feel like we're running behind, and then we look at the next time and we're like, yes, we got up.
We would fly smarter in the budget.
Yeah, no.
It's a pesty little.
So I do have a number for you now, if you want that.
Yes, please.
So with doing those things, we're at 54.854 mils. Which from the 56.947 is a reduction of $469,334.
What's the, from last year, what's the percent increase in the tax side? That's what people are gonna wanna know.
7.5. 7.5. About $1,026,000 difference from last year to this year, or next year, from this year to next year.
What's that figure again?
1,026,224.
And that's still with the 666,000 of cash.
Correct. $51.57.
Thank you. All right, Joe, we are ahead of schedule, but we go Joe Snyder, Road and Bridge Superintendent, ARPA purchase order approval, and bridge and culvert discussion.
Hello, everyone.
Oh.
We have a ARPA PO for road oil for Vance Brothers, $37,000, $666.33, which should complete. I talked to Mark, the ARPA money set to. And the receipts are on the backside of that, each one.
Perfect. So I look for a motion to approve this purchase order to Vance Brothers out of ARPA. In the amount of $37,666.33. As presented by our road and bridge superintendent.
So moved.
Motion.
Second, and is that the last of the?
That's the last of that.
Not
For the ARPA.
not for the oil for the.
No, we'll have another one
Yeah, that's what I
tomorrow.
wondered.
Yeah, we'll have a couple more,
I
but
figured you would.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
then I wanted to let everybody know, let the commissioners know that when we applied for the off-system bridges this spring, we listed two. The one was for the deck replacement. We weren't awarded that, but says from KDOT, congratulations, your bridge project to replace Bridge 15-4N6, which is 3.6 miles north of Lancaster, has been selected for funding as part of the Kansas Department of Transportation off-system bridge program. There were 78 applications and 21 were awarded for a total of 20.45 million. The maximum amount of funding for our project is $900,000. Eligible work includes construction inspection performed under the contract. Your agency is responsible for any cost over the maximum award, as well as cost of design, right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and any non-participating costs. Before the project can be programmed, the person in responsible charge must complete the pre-project certification program, which I have done, offered through the Kansas Transportation Center. and submit a certificate of successful completion to KDOT and the enclosed request for construction project, which is a form I have right here that I need you guys to sign, 1302. It has to be returned prior to October 4th, 2024. Once we receive the two documents, KDOT will program the project and send you the schedule developing the project in accordance to KDOT's procedures and requirements. Should your project fail to meet requirements for fiscal year ending 2026, level of construction has to be by September 30th, 2026. The funding will be revoked. So they sent out a form. This is the first year that I've seen this. And it asks, the location is Jewel Road, 3.5 miles north of Lancaster, replacing structure with an 80-foot RCHS bridge, 24-foot roadway. And we will widening the bridge, increasing the weight limit from 12 tons to the HL 93, which is anybody can, there's no restriction, no weight restriction. Purpose of need. The bridge condition is poor, structurally deficient. Both abutment footings founded on rock are exposed and undercut the full width. Section loss, heavy scale and deteriorating. The waterway is too narrow and it's cutting behind each abutment. The bridge serves as heavy agriculture community, but is too narrow and cannot withstand the weight, and a lot of the equipment being used today forces to bypass detour of 5 miles. The goal is to increase the width of the bridge and the weight to allow our agricultural community a straight access to where they need to go without off-system cost share. We wouldn't have the resources to replace these bridges. Safety. Safety or project benefits. Safety for traveling public and improving economic growth for agriculture. Most of our bridges are not wide enough and have weight limits restrictions that hinders farmers' routes to fields. Some have no choices but to cross these bridges. Replacing this bridge and bridges like these will help ensure the safety of the traveling public. All right, so non-participating cost, engineering is $75,000. Utilities, these are estimated, but usually pretty close, $2,500. And right-of-way, $2,500. So our cost would be approximately $80,000. They are willing to spend up to $810,000 on the project. So we were basically selected 100% on this. We just have to pay the non-participating costs. And I believe this may be the first one that we did with this. And below, I'll need to sign it. Michelle will have to test it, and then each commissioner will need to sign this. And it's basically saying that we have the funds to make this project work. So is there any questions
That's
about
so
this?
awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so excited for you guys, like.
The Kansas Local Bridge Improvement, we weren't elected or selected in that, but we've been very fortunate. Should knock on wood that we've been getting about a bridge a year. So that really helps. So I wanted to read that so everyone would understand it.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Excellent.
Huge.
More down, 100 to go.
Well, that's, we had a little more discussion about some of those, so.
Yeah.
But I think that acknowledging safety and being persistent and keeping our lists and keeping working with KDOT and those communication.
We want to scan
Michelle
it.
has to,
It does.
and I'll need the original when we get done, but talking to these people and asking what we need to do. And like when we failed on the first Ottawa deal, getting the appointment with them and sitting down and discussing what we need to do makes a big difference. Now, it may shut off tomorrow, but so far we've been very fortunate, but it also says that we have several bridges that are in desperate need of replacement, which I think we all know that. So, the bridge on Finney Road, I think it's L3K3. We talked a little bit about this morning. We had patched some concrete and they fell through it again, and we've plated the bridge. I've been talking to engineers, and I'm going to be talking to the Corps of Engineers some more. What would you guys like to do? We could possibly put 2 culverts in there for up to 2 years before we would have to do anything else. Or do we do that? Because the culverts, when they come out, if we replace it, we get to keep the culverts. So, we would put the culverts in, our department, take the old bridge out, put the culverts in. And then if we decided to build a new bridge, then those culverts would come out and they'd build the new bridge, we'd have our culverts back. But I'm kind of looking for suggestions. It's a 16-foot wide bridge. It's not nearly wide enough. The decking, the concrete is crumbling. I'm just looking for some direction of what the commission would like for me to do moving forward.
When you say that you can put the tubes in for up to 2 years, is that?
So that would give us time to possibly apply for this bridge to be replaced in an off system an off system bridge.
If we didn't get funding, could they be left there longer than that? That's, I mean,
Okay,
Was
so possibly yes.
Can culverts be a fix? Can culverts be a
Well,
solution?
this is where, when I've been talking to the Corps yesterday and Friday, and I believe Thursday, I'm trying to find all this out. And the Corps would like to come, or they offered to come, have a PowerPoint presentation to teach me and anyone involved, which I think the commissioners would like to hear it. So and then it was suggested to do it online during the tape, so that the county, the people can see that we just don't get to go do what we want. There are restrictions, there's things we have to do. And while they're doing that, they're going to be teaching us what we need to do. And then if somebody asks you, K.S.A, why can't you just go put this in over here? Well, then you'll have more of an idea of what the challenges and everything we have to do to get it done.
And then you can tell them to watch the tape.
Yes. So, but I would like to know, if I get, and hopefully I'll know by next Tuesday, if we can put the 2 pipes in next week, it'll take 3 or 4 days, but people can use it. We have 2 7-foot by 30s. I would prefer them to be 40s, but we have 30s. And if we have to, we may be able to splice on the extra 10 feet. But just looking for some direction on.
Well, are you better off to go ahead and get a couple of 40s and do it right in case it becomes your long-term fix? And if it doesn't.
Well,
you
it's
still
gonna
have-
take probably 3 to 4 weeks to get those. So, you
Is
can
it
still,
closed right now?
no, it was, and then I
Okay.
put a steel plate over the hole. When I worked at K.S.A, that's stuff that happens every so often. You'll plate it.
How wide's your road bed gonna be with the 30-foot tube?
Well, the road will stay basically the same, but the equipment will be able to cross it without
Right,
any
okay,
weight
yes,
restrictions.
So the road's not gonna be narrow.
No, the road won't
But
be
no
any
more,
narrow.
no rails, whatever.
Right. So these are, it's just like 219th that Gary was talking about, I'm already in the process. I've got price, it's like $8,000 for 2 arched pipes to put in there that if it's okay with the Corps on what I'm putting in there, I'll order them 4 weeks. We come in, we put a tube beside the bridge. After I've talked to the landowner, I've talked to her once, but I got to talk to her again to make sure we'll get an easement. And then we spend 2 days, we pull it out, we put the 2 culverts in, we cover it up. We pull the other culvert out and we leave, and that solved that problem. But as we know, we have a lot of these in the county. And trying to find solutions that we have the resources for is the best option we can do, because we all know that the cuts are going to happen another year or so.
The one on Finney, does that stream come in at an angle? Because then that,
It crosses the road pretty fairly
Okay.
straight. If I need to put it in an angle, I can put it at a little bit of an angle.
well, that cuts, if you angle
Right,
it,
then you
then
have to have longer.
really, yeah, I think you would have to go with the 40s, but if it's straight across, I think that's not a real wide road bed through there anyway, but I think if they had access to be able to get through with big machinery on that road,
Well, that's
330s
what,
for
that's
clerk.
what the problem is. And as we put up our type 3 object markers and showing where the edge of the bridges are with the combines, with the wheels hanging over these small structures, they disappear.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't afford a lawsuit, but we can't afford to every day go replace a sign.
Yeah.
You know, so we're kind of at a, you know, we have these everywhere in the county. Every township has these issues.
My opinion is just go ahead with the 230s.
Here's one thing I would like to say, but I will get the information from them. If they're not gonna let it be a permanent solution, we could do the 230s, but if we put off trying to pay for a new bridge, it's gonna be harder in 2 years than it is possibly now for us to find a way to finance that.
So that's what I was wondering, is it worth to wait the 3 to 4 weeks to put 240s in there? And know, like, we're probably not gonna revisit this. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, I
We have
know,
problems everywhere.
I mean,
Like,
and
Let's,
so,
in 3 to 4 weeks is not that much to do it like this is it. You-
That's the way I would do the approach, fix it once and be done. I mean.
but I have to talk to the engineer some. There is that we can put it on a 2-year wait, but then we can also possibly take that $1,000 foot, $30,000 and apply for a Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Plan like we did on 290 and take that 30,000 and put it to, but we would have to apply the next 2 years right in a row if we only have 2 years of temporary status, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If you go with 40, are you talking about getting extensions or getting 240 foot?
240, I mean, I can cut pipe and extend it, but if we're gonna be permanent, it would be best to be 240-foot pieces of pipe. And we could possibly go 8 foot instead of 7, but we're gonna spend $30,000 probably. I do have the 2 7x30s right now. And I was just looking at, you know, you have to look down the road, but we also gotta look at where we're at on our budget, so. But if
30,000 versus what the cost that we just got for
160.
that, yeah.
160,000, that's what that bridge would cost, about 160,000 to be replaced.
And then-
30
And
and
then when you get 30,000 towards the next project, that's what your culverts just cost you,
If,
so.
if we get lucky enough to be selected,
Mhm.
yes, I mean, that's an option. But I want to talk to the engineer some more, and then, like I said, the core, you know, I'm learning as I go. I'm not gonna sit here, I don't know everything, I learn every day. And we have to go through their permitting, and that's why I want to meet with them and get this done to where we know exactly what we're doing. And the culverts for 219th are $8,300. That's a little over my spending allowance. If I get okayed by the Corps, do you guys have a problem with me ordering those? It's for a 10 gauge instead of a 12 gauge. 12 gauge are $7,200. They're a 60-inch arched culvert. So they're 51 inches tall, and then they're smashed to where they're 66 inches wide.
Oh, yeah.
And you put 2 of them in there, and that gives you more headroom to fill and cover over the top instead of just being a round one. But I would feel better with the 10 gauge, because we open that up and we do that, there'll be a lot more farming equipment going that way to get to fields than there is going
Mhm.
possibly through the one that we had to fix. So that would be, or I can wait till next week, but if we get it going, I want to get it ordered so we can get this done.
I mean, I'd be in favor of going ahead and calling for a motion today. We told them we'd get it done in 2024, so get you on going to get it, get
Okay,
it going. Want me to just,
it's the second line. And that is if it's okay with the court.
all right, so I'd look for a motion to approve a purchase order to Wellborn Sales in the amount of $8,338 for a 60-inch arched 10 gauge aluminized tube for 219th Road. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We'll just sign this, and when you have a purchase order,
Okay,
we can do
I
it.
appreciate that. And then moving forward with Ottawa Road, I've got the culvert list, and we have all of the small pipe in the inventory to take care of that. There'll be 2 big pipes and some concrete that I'll have to put out the bid. And as soon as which I will try to have that done by the end of the week, first of the week, we'll get that sent out to bid. And they're planning on bidding out the step one of the replacing the culverts in October, hopefully by the 1st of October. And we're working on everything else, the bridge, to get it bid out like it should be 290th. So there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot going on right now. And we're done with chip and seal. The asphalt that we milled up and used the base one was definitely better than the gravel. I feel a lot more confident with it. I feel confident with the other, but it's going to be a wait and see. There's some things that we will live and learn by on this. But right now, the road out there is hard. They're hard. It's just hoping that everything adheres to it is the big question. We're replacing 20 bridge planks. Yeah, 20 bridge planks at Decatur and 310 today. There's something else. Ryan is setting up the mill head and getting the water ready so we can go down on Ottawa and Osborne and start trying to patch that. It's in desperate need of it. It's worse than anything we have out there.
I'm glad you said that. That was on my list this morning.
Yes.
If I wasn't running late to ask you about that, because
Yes, so
they were concerned about that, and I told them I would ask you today.
So they were putting the water tank in the back of the 550 today, hooking up a little sprayer bar, making a little sprayer bar behind it where we can mix the base one with the water. He will mill the road. We will gravity feed the base one and the water onto the road, and we will roll it and pack it. And if it's rough, then we will come back and mill the top of it, and we will see what happens. We have some millings if we need to use. We will put millings in the hole and grind them and mix them with it. The Durapatcher was out of oil. They went to get it today, and we will try to address those bad spots on 286th at the same time.
They did put in the west of Lancaster where they were requesting there. They fixed that, and it's
Fixed one of them.
much better,
Awesome.
It's a lot better.
much better.
But that we filled it up, and it was still pretty rough. So we took our new mill head and we went out there and then we just planed the top of it off, and it's no comparison to what it was. So we're working on those. And as soon as we get a little bit of moisture, then we'll start the ditching process. I don't really want to blame a lot of gravel roads right now, as we'll lose most of our line. We are running a retriever right now along the edge, just trying to get rid of the grass, and we started that today. So the dump truck that was in the accident, they're started repairing the hood and everything, and when they get done, then they'll drive it, and we'll see what we need to do with the steering if there's anything damaged there. But other than that, I've been out in the field probably 70% of my time, doing everything I can to make us better. Caterpillar is going to come back out, and we're going to put 3 blade operators through the school again. So
New ones,
they're new
Or
blade operators.
new blade operator.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like round.
No,
two.
it's we work really hard to get everybody to do what we would like and to make the roads better. And some people did want to be in the blade, and one wasn't receptive to the changes we were making and decided to join somewhere else's workforce. So I've replaced 3, and I want those 3 to go through the school. And we will probably be extending our mole boards to 16 feet instead of 14 feet.
Sitting what?
The mole board. So when
Oh,
they blade, it will allow them to throw over the crown of the road. It's taken too many passes for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish. So it's every day just working to be better and be safe.
Question on blade operators. Do we try to keep the same ones in the blades in the same area?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so-
They're responsible for
Yep. Well,
it makes them own
And constituents like that, right?
Yeah.
Because then they get that relationship of, oh, there's Joe, like, you
Right.
know, and it's been a positive, I think.
But it just takes a little while to get where we need to be. And then they have to own their roads. You know, when you drive the road and there's issues, you can't say, well, so-and-so was blading on my road,
Mhm.
you know, so
So we're starting with 3 new ones.
they've been blading for a couple months,
Okay.
Yeah.
They're just
but they're new.
increasing their.
Yes, I want them to go through the schooling.
Gotcha. Maybe
So-
based on some of the feedback we've gotten in the past.
Yeah, and then I want, we're gonna do a little more one-on-one than we did before. One less person out there, and we're gonna go to 3 different spots. And the guy's gonna work with each person. Instead of it all being one just on ditching, I wanna work on, we can get the ditching, I wanna work on the actual how to blade. So. And I think that ought to be enough, isn't it? But we are gonna have to. K.S.A, you weren't here, we're gonna have to put a hold on the last project we bid until I get hold of the Corps.
Yeah, you guys should use that.
Yep, I did,
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
But we're not leaving anybody out. We're trying, if you have complaints, send me an email. Say, hey, Joe, this is what I got, and I will go look at it that day. And then I do have to sadly prioritize, you know, this one's gonna be a little more priority than the other one. We've had some concerns about trees, so we're gonna have to go out and cut some trees that are hanging. The combines are so big and, you know, let's see, up to the sky's the limit. So anything, we'll be painting here, but I'm gonna get a hold of him tomorrow about painting the stripes. Now, do you feel like we need to paint September Hills? Or, okay, so this is, okay, so I don't either. I don't think anything basically.
the high rate of speed.
Yes,
Is the better.
yes. So what there's, and I'm not gonna do it over there, by Jaycox. We're not gonna paint those. But I will take those miles we're figured in and we'll add them someplace else.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got Bourbon done, 254th done. All of it's done, except for we were gonna do Osage, but the way it is, we all decided that would have been a waste of funds. So, but we're gonna, like I said, Ryan should be hopefully ready to go by tomorrow to start. It'll be a slow process. We're gonna have to flag with the guys in harvest, and they're just gonna have to be patient with us because we're doing the best we can. Everybody good?
Yeah, last thing I have is I know you're humble, but you need to shout that out, that win for that
Well,
cost share. That's awesome. That's huge.
it is, you know,
Huge. I mean,
We-
road and bridge expenses are so astronomical that when you pull something like that off, like even if it's one structure, it's a huge
well,
win.
we've been very fortunate since I've been here on getting the bridge ones, really. And then Ottawa Road is a big one. And hopefully we'll get the culverts put in this winter, and then next spring when we start, and I'm really, really paying attention. We've got to have the money to do it, and then be able to have the money to follow up a mile or two the next year. So,
Yeah, I want the public to know that, you know, we've putting in bridges as fast as we can either get awarded or fund them ourselves. And it's really happened since I've been a commissioner. That's when the things have really hit and we've been applying for more, learning how to apply better and get awards better, and everyone is a good get. But, you know, still with the amount that we have, you know, it's very hard to get to these small remote bridges when we have so many main roads to do, but yeah,
And then-
we're working on all of it.
and for everybody to understand, we go through a list and we go through the criteria, what qualifies, and we try to apply for the bridges we feel that we will be selected. And it may not make any sense to some people where they're at, you know, but any bridge is a win. You know, we'd like for them, there's another one on Jewel Road that was hit by a farmer that I'd like to apply for next. And if we get those two on that road, then They can drive straight through from Lancaster to 326 without a width restriction or a weight. You know, so those are the things we try and we look at to do, but thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay, so next on the list is ARPA funds, which we're done.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so that can be next. So next is Mark Feltner, Finance Director, 2025 budget discussion.
Yeah.
I know. Did you get any info on that, Pat? This is oh, sorry. Oh, this is the one we approved. So we're just signing that 60-inch arched 10-gauge aluminized tube that we approved. She created Michelle created an actual purchase order to go with the invoice.
On the answer to the question, not yet.
Okay.
I put a question actually on the listserv about it. I need to check if it's on.
Which question?
About if it's okay to forego a salary.
Oh.
If it's not as a body, but as a one.
I know as a commissioner, I refused COLAs, but
So
I was still
I don't know how. it works.
compensated.
And I always wondered that, how you were off from everybody else. Like, when I first started, you were lower and I was like, oh,
That was only because
That's
I was
fine.
against going up with the COLA, so I just said I'd refuse them, and it was just kind of a thing, and it was kind of to see how that affected the budget. And it was surprising with just the COLAs, how much
it
it
can't.
had affected in just a few years.
Yeah, there's been one response, but it was just somebody saying I have the same question.
Oh,
Um, and please send me the answer if you get it. So,
awesome.
so I don't have anything, but I guarantee I'll have something today
Okay. In time for,
before 1 o'clock.
okay,
Is that
so,
what you're asking?
well, yeah, I'm just thinking, we have it in. So if you take it out,
Mhm. You wanna see like a projection?
yeah, what that looks like.
I wanna let you know, I do have a meeting at 1 across the hall.
Okay.
And as soon as it's finished, I can come back if you guys are still.
I mean, we have 45 minutes, so I think we'll be done. We should be, right?
Yeah, anything else? Anything else?
I mean, I just have to flip through the bills here, but we can do that. Actually, let's do that to give you guys some time. If that's okay, we'll just do the bills and,
It's our date, then, that,
so the senior village is negative on this, and that's because,
Well, we've
The
always
past-
been negative.
Yep.
But there's an invoice in there. That's why it shows up on the report, is because those are pending invoices and
Okay.
funds that are being used. So there's an invoice in there for PHT, the billing company.
Okay.
That they've helped like $500 some or so, and there's probably something else in there. But, so we have not shorted up with any proceeds or anything yet. It's just hanging out negative. I'm hoping that once we go over the aging report, we can get some collections in, and that would go towards the negative balance.
okay,
So I think definitely before the end of the year gets here, we should talk about what you want to do with that balance. If you want to net it with the proceed money, or I'm hoping we'd have a better idea of the aging report too, of how much people are gonna collect or pay, how much we're gonna collect, people pay.
I think you wanna zero things out by the end of the year on paper, and then future collections.
Yeah,
go
could
to
just go-
general.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
mean-
would be fine too.
It'd be just simpler.
yeah, I think so too. If we could
Okay.
clean it up by the end of the year and make it
Yeah.
go away and then solid waste.
Yeah, it'll probably be until November, it'll be negative.
Perfect. Till she does it, till we collect the
Yep.
additional.
Which I anticipate that will be at the end of November, beginning of December, when that happens.
Okay. Very many this week. Bless you.
Thank you. Allergic today.
I had a thought. And that was. Even when I myself rejected my COLAs, we budgeted the full amount because. If you completely wiped your salary out and we didn't budget for it, but you suddenly were no longer able to serve and someone else came in. We would have to have a budgeted amount to be able to pay the new commission. Do you understand what? Even though I wasn't getting the full amount, it was budgeted. In case I was no longer able to serve, the next commissioner would have been able to start at the same salary as the other commissioners.
So couldn't you just use reserve fund for that? So it's not budgeted funds and not going toward ad valorem taxes?
It was a budgeted, I mean, it came from ad valorem.
No, yeah, saying it's not, but if it's not budgeted, it's not costing anything, but you have that reserve,
Well, it
Of
could
like-
roll over.
like
But
it.
what I'm saying is, I think you said you were figuring that having Mark figure it like you were, that it was gonna be taken completely out. Well, then if you suddenly weren't able to serve in January and we put someone else in there, how would we pay? Because they would be eligible to be paid.
So couldn't you use your reserve and do a budget amendment?
You could,
I thought,
Okay.
you could.
But always before, even with the small amount, and I wanted to address this because it was always stated that we wanted the budget to reflect the potential and not the actual. Does that make sense? I wanted to, before we set anything in stone, to make sure that that was addressed.
Pat's looking it up. I don't know.
Amendment, because the budget amendment would have to be Mark completing it.
Oh.
So I was just wondering if his recommendation was on.
I mean, having a budget amendment for the general fund is probably never gonna happen. Because there's enough departments to cover an overage. Along with that, the commission has always had a reserve fund. For their elected board as well, so. If that scenario happened, there probably would be funding to transfer over. It's just if they plan to use that funding for anything in the future, we'd be in jeopardy if that happened. So with just the scenario of reducing your salary down to an unknown number with benefits. Let's say take $23,000 out. You are at 54.747 mils. So it only dropped it about 0.1 mil, really.
You said we were at 55.84, I thought.
54.854. So now you're at 54.747.
No, I wrote that down. Okay. What is it again? I'm gonna write this down and get it correct.
With Commissioner Quinn's salary out would be 54.747.
Or you said,
Okay,
no, 54, so.
I may have said it incorrectly.
that's all right.
Which is interesting how numbers work, because that's 2.2 mils that we came down from what we sent out. 56.947.
Yes. But that's with all these other.
Yeah. But that's.
Yeah.
People are gonna make me happy to see.
Seems like the city, they had to pay us something because of the insurance or. The work comp, or you up for liability or whatever. But there was some connection with that, it seems like confusing.
I don't think there can be $0. I think it has to be.
Yeah.
something. Otherwise, you're just a volunteer and that. won't fly.
And we signed the back of our checks and turned it back in, and they put the money towards the employee Christmas party. But theoretically, we were paid.
That's how you did it?
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
That's what we did. I was a servant leader.
But that's awesome.
So-
And then you're showing your, like, the commission showing appreciation to
So,
the people. That's
I
great.
said, kind of, someone wanted to. You get the salary, but you wanted to give it back. It's like, not to get politics, everybody, Trump never kept his salary. He gave it then to the different, well, one of the veterans something, and he never kept a salary, so he's gave it away.
Oh, I don't want to choose where it goes. That's another headache. I'd rather just not.
Okay.
Well, we don't have funding for our county Christmas party anymore, other than what we have, so. Just throwing that
Oh, that might come up.
out.
That ain't that far away.
No,
Or there-
lots of things happening. Insurance open enrollment coming up. Our safety day on Columbus Day is coming up. Christmas party, end of the year.
Elected officials are not employees under the Fair Labor Standards Act definitions. 29 U.S.C. Section 203 E2C specifically. And that appears to be the same under the Kansas Minimum Wage and Hour Act, because it doesn't include any employer who is subject to the provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act. You wouldn't be covered by work comp if you're not an employee. If you would be injured somehow while working, it may not be covered. But I don't see a requirement that you be paid a salary.
Probably some minimal amount makes sense, because that way if you're out with like a Joe's truck, going on some roads and get hit, I mean, whatever it may be, I mean, it may make sense to have some minimal.
Plus with deductions and stuff, you have to have. Something
Deductions of what?
employees pay, like state withholding, federal withholding.
Yeah, if she opted into getting paid from something, it would be taxed. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yes.
So are we
If she
good?
opts completely out, then she would be off payroll and I wouldn't,
This sounds interesting.
it'd be odd.
So 54.747 mils, $666,689 of cash.
Figuring I might take a short break. Excuse me.
Oh, and then. The action.
Do we need that or we don't need that? No, we take it. Okay, I think, I don't know, but if you need it or not, but let's stay in the city and just. Let's take that.
Very good. I just went over and grabbed myself a bite to eat. It's good. Your sandwiches were good. Did you bring the potatoes?
Yeah.
Very good.
Mhm.
I call those funeral potatoes,
Got what?
funeral potatoes, like the the hash browns, and some people put like cornflakes on it.
They've got a lot of names.
Yeah, my dad looked at me crazy when I
Party
said that.
potatoes.
Yeah, that's
I-
funny. It's, I don't know how many different names I've heard for them.
Call them funeral potatoes at
Texas
Christmas, and he was
potatoes.
not happy.
Or Texas potatoes.
I call mine Judy Brown potatoes because that's where I got the recipe.
Yeah. And that works.
Yeah, there's some good stuff over there.
But they're still on.
Your eggs are gone. Yes. People take them. Yeah, and I heard 2 people say those eggs were really good. Yeah.
I should have grabbed one earlier.
I should have too. I love them.
There's pasta salad and veggie pizza, meatballs.
Sandwiches gone.
No, almost, but no. And Joe walked in, he's like, what's this? I said, it's courthouse potluck.
I think he found a way to eat something.
Yeah, I was like, no, wait. He's like, oh, yeah.
Did you open the sandwiches up?
Yeah, I got
Yours
one.
was one gone.
No, there was a bite off my veggie pizza too. My husband's like, I have to try it for everybody. He's like, tell them that the kids did it. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I
So
was,
he did it.
I was informed by my wife that I'd be making those for us next time.
Yeah, we make those. at
That's a
home.
lot of them.
That's what the kids saw me making those potatoes and they're like, oh, will you make some for us? Like, okay, maybe this weekend.
Unless it's a funeral, then just go there.
Yeah.
Funeral dinner Saturday I was at, they had,
Yeah, it seems like.
I know, this,
My grandpa always called them funeral potatoes, but my dad was not happy about that. He's like, they're just potatoes, Jody. They're cheesy potatoes. I was like, no.
I've seen them in a lot of weddings, so it's like that one time when family get together,
So
funerals
good.
and weddings.
Delicious.
The Foley family staple is the no bake, peanut butter no bakes. So they all have competitions. They all like make it and then we try each one and then we have to see. My Aunt Beth always wins. Yeah.
Do we have any unfinished business? Okay, so county councilor updates?
Talking about the county lake, the condition of the roads. Not the legal status of the roads. There appears to be no legal status to any of the roads out there. So before we would take steps to transfer that, you would need to decide how you wanted to treat that. If you want to dedicate them as roads, we're going to have to go to the expense and the work of having surveys done or a survey done to get the description of the roads. And you would have to dedicate, you would have to accept them. Well, I guess you'd have to dedicate them and accept them as public roads. So I think that needs to be done before we send all the information out. I do have all the information ready to go. Shout out to Roger Denton, with big help with that. But we need to decide what we want to do with the roads.
Let me ask you a question. Can we make that contingent upon the offer? And the reason I'm asking is you're gonna have a handful of different thought processes, right? Of like, if someone were to buy it in its entirety for something, you might not need that versus if they plan a development, right, to parcel off and have a future. So then you would need through roads, so.
Well, although if it's sold at all, I mean, we're gonna have to have a through road because there's people that have to have access to houses that are just beyond the property line that have to come in from, at least on the north side.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
There's no other way.
Right. And because I think that there was probably a through county road, when then they bought this, they developed a lake. Then had to make the curvy road that went up around it.
There
But then-
was a road that sort of ran through the middle of the lake.
So, but then it was never, since it was just county property, they made the road without platting it.
Right.
So there's no plat or there's no legal description for these roads. They just created their own lakeshore drive. But they never did go through the formality of accepting and plotting. So that was something that I had stopped in and asked, and I don't know whether maybe you were already involved with looking at that, but.
We look at it all the time. This is not far different than a lot of other roads, just like you were discussing this morning, where they go in, they put in a lake. There's a road that used to go right through the middle of the lake, both north and south and east and west. And they just built roads around them. They moved the road to the new locations. They never legally changed anything. So there is still a road right down the middle of that lake. And if somebody were to say, hey, that's still open, technically it is. But it's just one of those things that we're getting to the point where when we do things like that, it's better if we fix them now, than waiting for the next generation to argue about.
But all does it entail that all have to be surveyed and since, would this be a new road? Does it have to have 60-foot right away
I
or?
would think yes.
Whether or not it actually has to be surveyed, I don't know the answer to that. The reality is that you want to know that the road, wherever the road is acceptable. Now, I don't know that you can do that without describing where it is. But you know, assuming you said, hey, all the roads around the county are gonna remain county roads, and they're all gonna remain a 40-foot right of way, and they're gonna be in the general location where they're still driven. Maybe you could do that, but then it's always subject to argument. So, since you are transferring all the property around it and retaining that right of way, if you just regained an easement across the properties, you might be able to do it that way without fully describing it, and then wherever the road is, the road is. But other than that, the cleanest possible way to do it would be have somebody survey the road locations. And then you get the road.
So I think before you got here this morning, or Joe talked a little, or Joe was here, we were asking about it. And I don't know whether we would need to do all of the road because on the south side, there's no houses that actually connect. But there is an access, I think it's Clay Road that goes south there if we want that as a connection road or not, but that might be something that we would need to sit down and decide if would be some of the roads or all of them or what we would.
Yeah.
Pat, is there a way to put a clause in there? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to spend any money when we don't know what we're doing, right? So if we're just asking for information of how would you market this and what kind of price tag are you looking at with giving them the information of like, these are not dedicated roads, it would have to be done prior to selling, but because we don't want to spend money and then them come back and give you the information and you're like, yeah, this makes no sense. Like, we'll just keep it, like, we'll keep it,
Yeah.
you know? So it's one of those things like without gathering the information, I don't want to go to a bunch of expense until you know like what direction you're going.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could do that. It looks like there is one, I don't know if there's a house, but there is one property on the south side.
Oh,
Anthony Dale. DAHL,
no.
which is on Clay Road. So,
Okay, but I don't know if he has to come, if that would be one, or if he has access to the south.
I haven't looked at them.
That's what we just take a look at all of it and see, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I can go ahead and send the inquiry letter out, just telling them that there's this
Work
other
to be
issue,
done.
I guess. But you are gonna have to deal with that issue before
Stale.
Yep.
before you divest, yeah, before you sell.
Sounds good. Any other updates?
I know.
I have a question on tax sale publication. Is the local globe the only thing that meets the criteria for? Okay,
Yes,
I just felt like that was expensive when I signed the bills today. I was like, holy smoke, 60,480, like, that's a lot of money to publish. What is the list that then half fall off, right? So.
Yeah.
I was just curious, because it caught my eye and I thought I would ask.
right. And then the statute for that publication, which is one done by the treasurer, not directly related to the tax sale, also has a fee that they charge, and I think it's like $2 per tract or something that doesn't cover the cost of the actual publication. From time to time, a proposal has come up with the legislature to allow you to publish on your county website, to make your county website the official newspaper. But for cities, there's AG opinions that suggest that cities have the home rule authority to do that, but not for counties. Counties have statutory home rule and not constitutional home rule.
Any need for executive session? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve this week's expenses?
So
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Do you have any update on that? So, sorry, I don't, the FBI and USPIS for that you sent us? Is there anything?
Yeah.
We should just,
No, never
Okay.
that I. The conference call tomorrow, so hopefully we'll hear about it.
Go back to the budget. When you guys.
yep, when you're ready. I was just, I didn't want to push you if you weren't ready.
Before I make any of these changes. For yourself in here. Do you want? Any sort of compensation?
No.
So, no self money.
No.
Okay. So that would essentially mean, and I would like you to step in whenever, but that would essentially mean you would have no income. So there would be no tax deductions or matches to budget for it. There would be no benefits of any kind, no health insurance given, no workman's comp given, no
Papers.
no retirement.
And within the system, we were brainstorming. We would probably, if this were to happen and you guys approved, I would terminate you from the payroll system, but keep you in the personnel system so that when we do reports, it still shows that we have 3 commissioners. But I would send a packet like I do with any termination from the county, with all your information, because it's 5 years vested into capers. So determining on the years that you've been under capers, you'll have to kind of do your part on looking into capers, whether you are vested or aren't vested, and what you're going to be doing in that aspect. So just want to let you know that all benefits you'll get a termination back.
Okay. I mean, I am not in this position because of the wage, and I feel like this past year, being one of 3, I haven't made a difference, so I just feel like this is the right thing for me to do. It's not political, it's perfect timing, there's no one running against me, I want to be here, so all in.
We just want you to know what it consists of.
Yep.
Our side of things and how it's gonna look when you do get papers from my HR.
Okay. You're terminating me. I got
It's gonna look
it.
like that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
There is about 340,000 in the reserve after we do this move. So there will be money there, so that maybe will help your worry.
Okay,
if
well, I just
something were to
want to make sure, because I know that we always budgeted for the full amount as if if I decided to take it.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that we weren't not doing our duty.
And that would not include anything that we're gonna come over from 24 into 25. That's just what we have right now. So
Yeah.
there could be extra.
And this all takes place with her position 1/1 of 25. Okay,
Trying to help the 2025 budget.
no, I understand. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with the process and communication.
I wanna make sure that we don't say something and then after the fact, it's already been approved and then, you're like, oh.
South side of the lake.
What's that?
There's one other property on the south side of the lake. Both sides.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've been on that south part of that. Joe had recommended that we keep that as you're coming in the east gate, as that tees off
Mhm.
up until Clay Road and then not do between Clay Road west across, like if you were gonna cross the old dam, but like I say, it's been so long since I've been on the north side. Several times a year I go through there, but I haven't went the other world, the other direction. I've got a question on the library district here in town. Is it city limits? Is it the same as the library district?
The library district in Atchison is their library. Effingham also has their library. The other one is the Northeast Kansas Regional Library, and it's based out of Douglas County.
But there is a boundary district. I mean,
Mhm.
so is it the city limits or?
It's within the city's budget.
Yeah.
The library, so my.
So, okay, yeah, because someone that was on the board and they found out they're not in the city limits, so they were let go as a board member because they're no longer. And she was just asking about it.
And this is here,
Huh?
this one I have
Here,
yeah, I think they're all, you can see limits. I don't think they have anybody outside.
and so I just hadn't, I never even thought of that, but Was just curious on that, but she said it. Is it listed as Atchison County or the county? What?
The larger one?
Yeah,
No, just Northeast Kansas Regional Library, NEK RL.
just curious.
Mhm.
I mean, they have their parameters of who it can and can't be on.
Did you know today's National Voters Registration Day?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know
I saw it on the news this morning, so I went to Secretary of State and I saw it. I was like, oh, I'll share that.
Yeah.
It's a big, pretty
What
cool.
was that?
that. Today's National Voters Registration Day.
Oh,
I'm gonna find it on social media, and share it.
And down to one day less than a month, 16th of October. No, the 15th, I'm sorry, the 15th of October is the deadline to register.
My sister was talking about how she got registered because she's gonna be 18.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, we took pictures.
That was fun.
I know, it's really bad. It goes by fast.
Okay, so with doing that. Your overall budget increase is 7.3%. Your mill levy will be 54.740. Is there any other information you want to know?
And the cash is still 666.
That's correct.
689.
That's correct.
what's the last figure? 666,
689.
689.
So from the 56.947, you reduced it by $494,713. You were not to exceed 57 mils is what went on the R&R notice. Which I know all the public knows that, but. So if you're happy with that, I can print out the sheets that you'll need to sign.
Yeah, I
Good.
guess.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not pretty. It's like making sausage.
What was the mill when you guys did your R&R hearing?
56.947.
That's just the accompanying page.
It's pretty a little quicker. Do you have a cable hooked up to it?
No. Had a good strong talk with it today. I said, you better work. This is your moment.
Sure, we get one more print.
Mhm. Making sure it's right. And I'll need you to sign this one too.
World's.
What time's that? Sorry. Oh,
So I think the first page there is the certification page, which shows your ad valorem tax dollars per levied fund, your general fund, extension council, and noxious weed. The right-hand column, the final tax rate is blank because that's the values for the levy that goes in November when Michelle does it for the final abstract. She'll get our final total number down there where it says November 1st, 2024. She'll put that as your total mill levy right there. you'll sign the governing body signatures. And she'll attest it on the left. The back page is the breakdown of all of the fund totals. It has your levied funds, your non-budgeted funds. And how the R&R mill levy plus the actual mill levy per levy.
Can I have a copy of that?
Yeah. Print a couple. Do you want a copy?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We'll just print 3 more so you can take it home.
Does that show the NRP?
Maybe.
Just curious. Don't worry about it. I just.
Yeah. No, it actually does not show the NRP on this sheet.
Hmm?
You want both of the pages?
Yeah, they're coming. You want the NRP sheet as well? Because the NRP equated to $413,272.
I would like it.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be good. So when calling for a motion, the second page pretty much summarizes the first
Yeah.
page and then equates to a mill levy.
Correct.
Okay,
So the second page is just informational to get to
where we're at.
where you're at, but the first page is all that's needed for approval.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll write a note, send that to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir. Appeal, great.
Okay, so before I call for a motion, I will just summarize the proposed budget year for 2025 is 14,390,378 for the general fund, 138,534 for extension council, and 180,617 for noxious weed, 500,000 for special highway, $1,201,831 for joint communications, $1,095,888 for solid waste, and the municipalities that fight addiction, 25,000, totaling $17,532,248. That's broken down to a general mill levy of 53.643. Adding in extension council of 0.605 and noxious weeds of 0.492, which gives us the total mills of 54.740. I have the certificate that summarizes this that I would call for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
you need us to put a title or just our signature?
No, just your signature. The board is the only authorized to sign it.
Awesome. Thank you.
We have the roll call that will go with it. So they'll have your titles and who you are.
Huge.
We don't need,
Huge.
we don't need a roll call for this.
No, because we already did it for the resolution.
Right, that's right.
Huge, huge, huge thank you to you, Mark, throughout this
Welcome.
process.
You're welcome.
I know it was frustrating and you put in a ton of work for us, so I appreciate that.
Well,
Likewise.
thank you, Sue.
Like that one. Here, all leather. Called Rick, and I said, which backpack do I buy? It's all leather.
It's like, just.
He knew somebody, so I got Lloyd Price. It's a good deal. Well, it's Rollins, like Wall gloves. Yeah.
Really?
Mhm. Go get it.
We have 4 minutes.
I do.
I mean, you can leave. It's happened before. Commissioners have walked out before we've been done. So, I mean,
Have we?
yeah, absolutely. My first couple of,
Oh.
first couple of years, they definitely walked out.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding.
yeah,
Sorry.
Like, I don't forget moments like that.
at noon, right?
Yep. Whether we were mid conversation or not. Oh, boy.
I was my Uber driver a message, okay?
Are you uber excited about going?
Well, I gotta stay at the courthouse the rest of the day, or I can get her, my wife to pick me up. We got a card shop, so she's got my truck. Their car's done, so now we gotta do the car shop. Of course, we got a new car anyway, so she'll just give me a new car. It's gonna make a sweet, so.
I wouldn't try.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Not too much. Sandwiches left, take them.
What?
Sandwiches, grab a couple of them.
Oh,
It's-
yeah, I didn't have a chance to, I was tenant on making some. Didn't have a
Oh, you're
chance.
all right. So Casey, you made meatballs,
Meatballs and, you do,
potatoes.
potatoes.
Somebody else had meatballs in there this morning, so they must have been very good, plenty of meatballs, that's good. I bet they got them all eaten.
They're easy, like meatballs are easy to eat throughout the day too, like,
They're not spicy, are they?
no,
Yeah, I like spice.
yeah, no, they're not.
My system doing well.
You need onions? Or are onions in the potatoes? I don't know.
Onions don't bother, but I'm talking about like what tears me with chili powder.
Oh, yeah, there's none of that.
Those things don't bother me, but, I don't grab push it too far either, like, those guys are like pepper eating contest or something. No, I'm not.
Well, that makes me
I'm not
sick
gonna-
just watching
Yeah,
that.
those guys eat that stuff, I don't care.
Well, any of those eating contests.
Or either they just want to like, who's the bigger guy, here's the spicy, this is spicy, or I don't just.
Although if it was a pie eating contest, that might be. Fun. Yeah, it'd still make myself
You
sick,
know-
but that's the only thing that looks good at least. That
Our sheriff won food eating contest Saturday night. There was 4 of us in it. I came in last place as planned. The American Legion had a fundraiser,
oh,
turkey fries.
oh. Oh, that was
Yeah.
Saturday noon?
No, yeah, 5. Yeah,
Oh, it was afternoon,
but yeah,
the festival.
yeah, so Jack won. About 30 of them in 2 minutes.
Oh, sounds disgusting.
Oh, thank you.
There's 10 in the cup. And I was in my second cup about halfway. So I was just casually, they don't taste bad. They run like a little piece of tenderloin. I mean, there's some,
They're very rich, so,
they're so random, and I don't eat much fried food.
yeah.
I've been trying to cut way back on fried food, like.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0.
But they had a good fundraiser. They had a lot of, the guys, the music